kill somebody, so you might not just be guilty of rape, you'll be guilty of murder. So just don't do it, okay?
Exactly.
Does that sound fair? Okay.
It sounds like a good call.
Yeah.
So there's more stolen stuff, though.
Oh, yeah.
Besides the driver's license.
The stolen jewelry. Remember that? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So her jewelry was missing. But that was actually not reported to police until April 2012, months after Morgan had died.
4 months.
Yeah, 4 months. Keenan Van Ginkel got into a little trouble with the law. He sold several pieces of gold jewelry at one of those We Buy Gold places. I think it was called Gold for Cash.
Mm-hmm.
And he was
whichever one.
Yeah, he was arrested on suspicion of receiving stolen property. And it turns out he had on his person some marijuana and a pipe, which possession of either one of those was illegal.
Not anymore, but then it
Not
was.
in Colorado
That's
anymore.
got to be a bummer.
I know. He's looking at that
Like
right
2
now.
years later, I'm still dealing with a rap for getting caught with pot, and now everybody's got it.
I know. The stolen property charges were dropped, but the pot charges stuck, of course. After Tony learned of this, she emailed Detective Glassmeyer and told him that Morgan's jewelry was missing. And it had been missing since the night of the murder. And she later revised this, and this is via email. She revised this to, well, some of the jewelry was gone, but they weren't sure which pieces had been taken. And Glassmeyer told her that they couldn't investigate the crime unless the Ingrams filed a police report on the stolen property. And he encouraged them to file a report on that. Well, the Ingrams never did. However, their website still claims that jewelry was stolen.
They had it really hard for him. Like, he was their only suspect.
Yeah.
And they were throwing everything they could at him.
Mm-hmm.
I understand the last viable known responsible party. We've got to put everything into getting justice.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a little misdirected, but I understand why they were going after him so hard.
I understand it too, but and I'll get into this a little bit later. But it's just totally is out of hand.
Oh, I mean, yes,
yeah,
I would
really
agree. It got pretty wild.
Yeah, it still is out there. I mean that website is still out there with all of its. Another reason to question Tony's integrity here, which is Brooke Harris. So
the girlfriend.
Yeah, Keenan's girlfriend. I keep wanting to say Keegan, and
I have done it myself.
I used to work with a guy named Keegan, and so it's like, and so I never worked with a guy named Keenan.
Got it. At least you didn't work with Keanu.
Yeah, Keanu.
You know, the kitten in the movie?
What do you mean at least you didn't?
Because if you worked in that movie, you would go to, with a kitten that looked like that, you'd go to stupid lengths to do whatever you had to for that cute kitten. What, you guys look at me like you haven't seen that movie.
Of course I've seen that movie.
Okay,
I have not seen that movie. What movie is that?
Keanu.
We'll
talk about
Joe,
it later.
let's keep going.
Okay.
Oh, my God.
All right.
I don't want to get you sidetracked with cats.
Okay, that's a good point. So remember, for the first part of our saga, the only suspect in the Ingrams thing was Keenan.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. But then it turned out that Keenan had been out of state for 3 days in September and 7 days in November.
I think he was on a hunting trip at one point.
Yeah, I think they were both hunting trips.
Okay.
And of course, some of the incidents occurred during those time periods. And then also, when they checked his work records, well, he was on the job when a lot of these incidents occurred too. So that kind of you'd think that would rule him out as a suspect. But then,
logically,
yeah, Tony and Steve decided, well, that must mean that Brooke is in on the conspiracy too.
Okay.
Yeah, and so they started accusing Brooke also of being in on this, and even though they had broken up, I think by this time, nonetheless, yeah. So it's crazy, but. And as far as the claim that the police did not investigate, there was a lot of follow-up by police. Long after Morgan's death, they did continue to pursue the possibility of maybe a murder. And certainly Tony was all over the sheriff's office, and there was tons of contact, and it's all in the reports, all the emails, all the phone conversations, pushing the idea that Keenan was a serial killer, and yada, yada, yada. In March 2012, Glassmeyer brought Keenan in for another interview. This time he lied to him. Glassmeyer lied. He said that some of the driveway video had been sent to an independent lab, and they had enhanced it, again doing the enhancement BS, and they definitely showed Keenan being in Morgan's driveway. He also had a lab report from the same lab, which said the same thing essentially.
Totally doctored.
Yeah, totally doctored. He showed it to Keenan.
He probably made it in Word.
Yeah, he probably did. And Keenan still just basically didn't, according to the police reports, didn't change his story at all. He says, I have not been on their property, period. I don't care what that camera says. And I think he convinced Glassmeyer, actually. Glassmeyer did ask him if he'd be willing to submit to a computer voice stress analyzer. Keenan said that he would. And I don't know if that even exists. That might have been another made-up BS thing. But so Glassmeyer was actually on the case. As far as the Ingrams thinking that he didn't do any investigation. I mean, he took their chief suspect, who, by the way, there was not a shred of evidence against, and still sort of
ran through the process.
Yeah, he hammered on him a little bit to try to get him to confess, and he didn't do it. But nonetheless, the claim that the police didn't investigate is still on their website.
It doesn't hold water, but yeah.
And obviously the police did investigate. There's another thing that really raises my eyebrows, which is this. There was an incident, I think it took place on September 5th, and I mentioned it before. Tony was standing in the foyer of their house.
And somebody ran across.
Somebody ran across. She saw through the windows.
Yeah.
He turned and ran. He ran around the north side of the house, and her husband didn't see this person, even though he ran to the back of the house to try to see him through the sliding glass doors in the back of the house. Now, what's interesting about this is that it wasn't that long before this that they had installed a camera above the porch of the house, in the front of the house, and this guy was running across, and this guy was not caught on film. That's kind of mysterious to me.
So
which makes me believe. Excuse me for interrupting.
No, I was interrupting my phone. Go.
But it makes me wonder. Obviously, Steve didn't see the guy. She could have totally made the entire thing up. I mean, I don't know, but certainly he should have been caught on the camera if he'd run across their driveway and around the side of the house. At least one camera, and that didn't happen, did it?
No, and here's the other thing is that you will see on the internet, I know Devin and I were chatting about this earlier, is the path.
Yeah.
So there's a berm behind the cul-de-sac that separates it from the property that's next door, which I think is a horse farm. And it's got some roads and pastures in it. And if you go northeast from the house, it'll take you to the intersection of County Road 100 and is it Interstate 82?
I think it is. I can't remember now off the top of my head. I'm too lazy to go look.
It's Highway 82.
Highway
82. Okay, well, at that intersection of Highway 82 and County Road 100, there's a bus stop. And so there's a couple of things that make me think of what this supposed stalker path could be. It could be somebody who doesn't have a car who says, well, let's see, I can walk the 1.5 miles around going along the roads.
Or I can cut across the fields.
Or I can cut across the properties that are in this cul-de-sac and the field and cut my trip in half.
Sure.
Which is going to explain why if people are doing that, one or more people are doing that on a regular basis, that's going to wear a path.
Yeah.
I mean, never mind, it could be a game path because it could be game that animals that are setting off their motion detectors. But the other thing that I was wondering about, somebody walking their dog.
Yeah.
I mean, it's entirely, I mean, I've brought this up before. I've mentioned dog several times in this, but it's entirely possible that somebody on that cul-de-sac has a dog. The backyards aren't fenced in, so somebody could be walking along, and then they cut through the neighborhoods. They walk. You know what sucks about having a dog? Picking up poop.
Yeah.
You know what's awesome about a field? You don't have to pick up anything.
Sure.
So you cut through the berm, you walk your dog out there, the dog does its business, dog or dogs,
then you
walk back. And you let's say that it's rural enough that whoever's doing this is not walking their dog on a leash. Well, now they're walking their path every time. Their dogs are following them. Their dogs are running all over the property of the cul-de-sac, setting off motion detectors and cameras like mad.
Yeah.
I mean, I've just made these up because I was looking at it, but these are two very plausible reasons for the path and possibly for the motion detectors being triggered. Because motion detectors are not a straight beam. They throw a very wide arc.
Yeah.
My neighbor had one on his shed that in my yard I could wave and it would set it off. And it was pointed in his yard only. So, I mean, these things are not perfect. They're not fallible or infallible. Excuse me. Wrong term.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things.
Yeah. Oh no.
I just wonder.
There's all sorts of reasons. I mean, I know that people cut through and across other people's property all the time. It's just not that unusual.
And especially when it's kind of a ruralish area.
Yeah, I think so. So back to another reason to wonder about Tony's credibility here is I talked to Detective Glassmeyer actually just this morning, and it was a pretty brief chat. He's left the sheriff's office. He's now Garfield County coroner, and he wouldn't comment on the case because he thinks it would be inappropriate for him to do it since he's no longer with the sheriff's department.
Understandable.
But he did say an interesting thing because I asked him, my first question was, did the stalking even happen? Because I said, I'm really doubting that it even did. And he said, yeah, there were a lot of people who doubt it. But other than that, that's all I got out of him. But
well, that's not an admission of anything from him.
No, it's not. He wouldn't tell me what his personal opinion was.
Which, as a professional, I totally respect.
Yeah,
Me too.
but I respect that too. But he did say that a lot of people do doubt it, and so I personally suspect that he probably kind of doubts it.
I don't want to put words in his mouth.
Nor do I.
No, nor do I. But I suspect that a lot of people doubt it. But there's one last thing about this that really kind of raises my eyebrows. And that is the security cameras.
Well, we talked about their
poor quality.
Their poor quality and their lack of findings.
Yeah, the fact that they never got a single frame of usable evidence out of any of those cameras, and they had a bunch of them out there, which really makes you wonder why they didn't upgrade to better quality cameras. In fact, to me, that's kind of unfathomable that they didn't do this. Why did they not upgrade to better cameras?
Aren't they expensive?
Sure.
They are, but I will. So I have a family member who has security cameras around their house.
Yeah.
And got them based on the recommendation of somebody and doesn't totally understand what they're using. So may not understand, let's say that this family member, my family member is capturing things and can't figure out what the problem is, may not comprehend that the issue is not with whoever is running around that they're trying to capture being so good, but in fact, the quality of the camera.
Yeah.
So
why not get a better camera?
But it may not comprehend that is the problem, is the point that I'm making here, Joe. May not realize that the problem is you have a crap camera.
Yeah.
So they don't even think that I need to replace it with a better one because they just don't realize the problem.
But here's the deal. If you're concerned about the issue and you really want to know who your perp is, then you're going to be asking people. You'll be asking the cops. You'll be asking the people at the store you bought the camera from. You're going to be asking people, how do I get a good image out of this thing?
I'm not disagreeing with you. Yes, if they wanted to go to just amazing length, they should have ringed the house in infrared cameras and night vision cameras and just recorded 24/7 and invested in some crazy setup, but they didn't do that. But I'm not gonna fault them because I personally don't know that they didn't realize where their issue in getting an image of this person was. They always said, this guy is so wily, he is so good at what he's doing that he is evading not only us, he's evading the police. Yeah, so again, I'm not gonna. That's why I'm not saying that that's something to hold to as strongly as you feel.
I still think, especially as far as the expense of the whole thing. I mean, these people lived in a large, nice, modern house. They drove a Land Rover, for Christ's sakes, not a cheap ride. And so I don't think money was that much of an object for them. And I really would have thought that if identifying the perp was that high on their priority list, I really think they would have gotten better equipment. They would have consulted somebody who could have guided them into how to get better images.
At this point, we're going into what if land, and I think we're almost sounding a little judgy. So I think we need to move from that.
It's true that. No, I'm just saying I find it a little puzzling.
Yeah,
we can leave it at that. So, you guys have any more thoughts on?
No.
Yeah. Anybody want to accuse?
No. I mean, I think it's just sad.
Yeah,
Well, it is
it's
sad.
very
I think
unfortunate.
it's totally sad, the
Yeah.
whole situation.
Yeah, it is. And it's especially for the family, obviously, for Morgan, and also for Keenan, who obviously has, I think, very unfairly been accused
I think that
of some pretty heinous crimes.
I'm still of the opinion that I think that something was building that was not recognized or diagnosed with Morgan, and that's what. Whether
Could
this
have
was
been.
done intentional, whether it was an intentional or unintentional, I think that something was happening with her and she didn't know what was going on. I mean, that's just based on what I've seen in the behavior and the things. It's just an observation, but that's where I think.
Yeah, all right. But anyway, it's unfortunate, but hopefully everybody sooner or later will get their acts together, and people will live happily ever after. In the meantime, it's still crazy on the internet. So you guys probably want to know some interesting facts about us. Well, let me start from the top. We have a website. I don't know if you know this or not. We have a website. Can you believe it? Yeah. Yeah, it's called thinkingsidewayspodcast.com.
We got a .com, not a .net.
Uh-huh. Yeah, we're big time. So we also can be found on iTunes. And so if you find us there on iTunes, of course, subscribe, comment, leave us a rating. We like that, especially a good rating. You can stream us from anywhere, and there's also Google Play, of course. And again, with those, subscribe, rate us, review us, and obviously the better the review, the better we like you. Yeah. So if you want us to like you, yeah.
That's you're a terrible man, Joe.
Otherwise, we'll accuse you of murder. Yeah. Yeah, we're also on Facebook. On Facebook, we're Thinking Sideways, of course, and we have a group, and we also have a page. Mm-hmm. So join the group. Lots and lots of fun out there. We're on Twitter, or I should say the Twitter, where we are Thinking Sideways without that G. We have a subreddit also called Thinking Sideways, believe it or not. Lots of activity going on out there, at least I think. I don't know. Maybe I haven't checked it in a long time. What's going on?
With Reddit?
Yeah.
Stuff. Yep.
And things.
Okay, I'll get out there and check it. Of course, I say that every week, don't I? Yeah.
We leave that alone.
I will do that, yeah, someday. And we have an email, believe it or not. There's this fancy new thing called email. So to reach us by this fancy new thing is thinkingsidewayspodcast@gmail.com. And then last of all, of course, there is Patreon, whereas if you want to support the show, you can go out and go to patreon.com/thinkingsideways, and you can pledge a certain amount, 50 cents an episode, $1 an episode. Please be aware that the contribution is every time an episode runs, except for special shorts and things like that. We don't charge for
and
those.
thankfully, of course, you can set a limit for how much you want to spend a month. There's also the PayPal.
And we have a PayPal. And, of course, you can go when we're on our website. We have merch out there if you want to support us by buying merch. And you could have a really cool Thinking Sideways mug or a T-shirt, something like that. Other than that, that's about it. Do you guys have any last thoughts on this week's murder mystery?
No.
I don't.
Yeah, me neither. I think it's pretty open and shut. So that's about it. So, yeah, we'll see you all out there on the internet. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Thinking Sideways is not brought to you by that company named after a rain-diverting device. Instead, it's supported by the generous contributions of people like you, our listeners, on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/thinkingsideways to learn more.
Thinking Sideways.
I don't understand.
Does not compute.
You never know. What?
Stories of things we simply don't know the answer to.
Hey, everybody, and welcome again to another episode of Thinking Sideways. I am Steve, of course, as always, joined by
Joe.
And Devin.
And this week we have a phenomena I want to talk about. Mysterious phenomena.
Yeah, it's kind of...
Doo-doo.
Actually, this mystery sucks.
I think it's good.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
kidding.
Well, listen, here, let me tell these people before you trot all over it, Joe, what we're going to talk about.
They know. They read the description.
Maybe not. Well, what we're going to talk about is we're going to be talking about the Min Min lights. Which are, for people who don't know, they're a phenomena that has been witnessed in the Australian outback for...
I don't think you pronounced that right. The Australian outback.
Yeah, I don't have that accent, so thanks for the help.
Yeah.
But no, not doing it.
And that's
Okay.
not to be confused with the Australian back out. That's a totally different thing.
It has been reportedly observed in the outback for hundreds of years, and the lights are described as
They're
Well,
they're
they're-
like floor lamps. People see. I don't know.
they are they've been described as a lot of different things. Their behavior and their color, as well as any sound or smells that they may or may not make. It's ever changing from one witness to a next, so
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
kind of hard to pin down.
Hmm. The only thing that really connects all the various sightings is like mushrooms.
No,
Yeah,
that's not what connects them, Joe.
I see mushrooms in this. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
you see mushrooms in
I
everything.
see the deadly hand of mushrooms.
Well, before Joe gets us too off topic, I do want to say that this was a listener suggestion. This was suggested by Alex quite a while ago, and I know that some other people have sent it to us since then. So thank you for the suggestion.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Alex.
So let's get into trying to describe and explain the Min Min lights. Simplest description is, like I said, they're lights that are seen at night by people who are driving or camping in the outback. The most common description is that they're kind of a whitish colored round light.
Unless they're not.
Sometimes they're dim, sometimes they're bright. Usually there's one, but sometimes there can be multiple. They hover in the distance somewhere between 3 to 20 feet off of the ground, which would be 1 to 6 meters off of the ground. The general behavior of the Min Min lights is that they keep their distance from people. So if a person sees it and tries to approach, the lights retreat. But on the flip side, if you try to retreat from the Min Min lights, they follow you.
So they seem to keep the same distance from you? no
Yes,
matter
it's
what?
always a
Okay.
consistent distance from the viewer, typically.
And it's always like a fair distance, right? It's not,
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
oh,
Yeah,
they're
it's
5
usually-
feet off.
I mean, some people have reported them approaching kind of close, but then again, they might have been on mushrooms. I don't know.
No.
Apparently that's the theory.
Yeah.
but
No, they tend to be a distance away. The lights have been seen by motorists who have said that they've seen the lights while they were traveling at highway speed, so 60 miles an hour or 100 kilometers per hour. And the lights never fell behind. If sometimes they actually appeared to gain some distance, so they actually caught up with people. But it seems like the descriptions always they imply that the lights are kind of playful. But I've also heard on the opposite side of the spectrum the stories that people who try to follow the lights never return. So there's that kind of danger aspect there, which I honestly, I got to be telling you, I chalk that up to wandering around in the dark, staring at something ahead of you and not watching where you're walking.
that's right.
Yeah.
And then you fall, you knock your head, and then the dingo eats you.
Yeah.
And then,
So
I mean,
Yeah.
especially if you're staring at a light, right? And it's dark everywhere else, and you're kind of burning out your night vision, and then you look for something, and done.
spot on.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Actually, I don't know how many people have actually been killed pursuing these lights.
I don't know.
Yeah, I guess
That number is not reported because they were never seen again.
because the dingo eats them.
Now, the descriptions that we've given here of the Min Min lights probably sounds familiar because depending on where you are in the world, this kind of light has been described just about everywhere. You'll hear them called the jack-o'-lantern lights, will-o'-wisps, ghost lights, ghost candles. And then there's like locales, so there's places where they actually get a local name, much like the Min Min lights. So you hear the Marfa lights, the Hatzendalen lights.
Marfa, Texas.
Yep.
Yeah.
We talked about one of those, didn't we?
No.
We haven't talked about lights.
I don't
No,
think so.
no.
We
There's
talked
been
about
suggestions
swamp
about
lights
Marfa
or
lights.
We've talked about swamp gases and stuff like that, but not any
That's
one
not
particular. This is our first actual light phenomena that we've gone over.
There's the
Wow.
Mar-
Breaking new ground.
Don't forget the Marlboro lights.
We don't ever talk about those either.
Yeah, we will
okay.
someday.
So let's start off with something that's really easy to define, and that's the name of the lights. Because it turns out that they are primarily seen in one area, which is in Queensland, Australia, between the towns of Boulia and Winton. Between those two, there used to be a settlement called Min Min. And from what I've read, it was a pretty wild and raucous kind of place, kind of lawless. And they had
This is what I've heard.
a pub.
It was Deadwood.
It was kind of Deadwood-esque.
Kind of like that.
They had a pub, and it apparently lived up to the reputation of the town as well. But before you get and go and try and book your next vacation there, don't, because it burned down at the turn of the 19th century.
And I've heard that it might have been a case of arson.
You know, I read that, but I didn't really focus too much on it, so I don't know.
You know, I mean, obviously, it's easy to burn a place down accidentally. It happens all the time.
Especially when your main source of light is fire.
That doesn't help, yeah.
So, sorry, we're talking about the turn between the 18th and 19th century?
Correct.
Okay.
No, between the 19th and 20th, right?
It burned down in like 1910 or 1916, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Early 20th century then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I said 19th, didn't I?
It's confusing.
It is.
'Cause
I've
the
complained
worst.
about this before.
It's bad.
That's the worst.
Yeah, it's a bad system. We should get rid of it.
So, talking about the phenomena itself, it's like I had mentioned a little bit earlier, it's not new to the area. According to the indigenous peoples, there's legends that talk about lights like this having been around for before the white man came to the continent. But the stories also, they're a little confusing and conflicting because there's some that say that the lights were observed before settlers came, but then there's also stories that say that the sightings have increased since settlers came, and there's also stories that blame the lights on the settlers who have killed indigenous peoples. This was like I think it was between the 1850s and 1880s. There was a number of kind of slaughters, and those were pointed to as, well, those are the souls of those people. So I can never get a clear read on this is the story that was there before it morphed in.
Well, the cool thing about different groups of people can have different legends, and so those could all be the original legends because each group or tribe or whatever doesn't necessarily have to agree on when
they don't have to be
happened or where
exactly
they came
the
from.
same.
Yeah,
I mean, it's the flood legend.
yeah.
That's the biblical flood. That legend has been through a whole bunch of cultures. So
It has been around a while,
Or
and
like
obviously
angels. There's flying beings from the sky that a lot of cultures have, but
we all call them something different.
yeah.
Well,
Absolutely.
that's
Next
just-
time on Thinking Sideways.
no,
Theology.
these stories are told around the campfire, and obviously they are going to diverge because
Well, and that's the
tribes
thing.
don't talk to one another. In fact, they usually try to kill one another.
And it's an oral.
know.
Most of them have the oral tradition, so the
Yeah.
stories are going to morph over time. So yeah,
Of course, yeah.
There's a whole bunch of reasons why they're not pinned down or not mating up.
But interestingly enough, they do seem to occur. Like, for example, the local Native Americans in our area, here in the Pacific Northwest, they don't tell stories about mysterious lights, but they do in the outback. They do tell stories about mysterious lights.
Yeah.
Something seems to be going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's conspiracy.
Yeah,
It's a
probably.
controversy.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is as I talked about, there's so many different descriptions of the lights that it makes it hard to say exactly what's going to go on or what they are, what they look like, how they act. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do something different. I'm going to kind
Not
of do
different.
for me, and I'm going to go through some accounts to help highlight some things. And we'll take this in chronological order as Devin is about to burst in excitement because she
Because he's
thinks
doing I'm winning.
Do you see a single bullet point
No, but I didn't have bullet points on my last one. My last one looked almost exactly like this.
with bullet points in it?
It didn't have
Anywho,
bullet points.
We're going to move into accountings because there's a number of them. I've picked a handful of them through time just to kind of help.
You've
highlight some
curated the
stuff.
list.
I have absolutely. I've tailored it maybe.
There are a lot of sightings out there, yes.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you pared it down somewhat because I don't want to bore the hell out of our listeners. But, yeah.
So let's go ahead and start with the first one.
This is the first white guy story.
This is the first story that is from a white person, and actually I think almost all of these are, but that's not the point.
Yeah.
The story comes from the early 1800s. We don't have an exact date. I've seen it listed 1830, 1820, 1810. It's all over the map, but it's the most common one because it references the Stockmen. which, if you don't know what a stockman is, that's a cattle herder.
Oh,
Simple
I
version.
thought he was the guy that stocked the shelves.
Stores.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the local Albertsons.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. No, okay. I
So
was wrong.
there's a stockman. He's working near the Min Min settlement, and sometime in the early evening, he said he saw a glow appear in the local graveyard.
Oh, yeah,
and
by the
then
way,
drift away.
I don't know if you mentioned that. A lot of people got killed in the settlement of Min Min because
Yeah.
it was the Wild West there.
Yes.
And they did have a little graveyard there.
Yes, they
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, as with every town
was-
in that time frame, there's going to be a graveyard because people are dying all the time.
People are dying like flies.
Yeah,
I mean, my
especially in
God.
a rough and tumble area.
Yeah.
So he sees this light in the graveyard, and he said it started to drift away, and he described it as being about the size of a watermelon. And
Is this an American watermelon or an Australian watermelon?
he said it was the size of a watermelon, at
Oh,
which
right.
point he decided that a watermelon-sized light floating around was probably not something he wanted to be near, and he wanted to get away from it.
He was afraid of a watermelon?
So he rode his horse towards the town of Boulia, and it followed him. And it wasn't until he got to town itself that the light disappeared. He went to the local police or constable, whatever the case may be, for that particular location, and he reported it. But of course, they didn't believe him
Yeah, go figure.
in typical police fashion.
Yeah.
Well, strangely enough, there were two more reports that came in. And again, as with stories like this, the time frames vary, but I'll just give you the second one, which is, I think it happened a day or so later. There was a couple who
I think
came
it was like
in.
2 to 3 days.
Yeah, well,
something
see,
like
that's
that.
that's the hard
Yeah.
part. It's
The
2 or 3 days between
accounts
each one.
always vary, they do.
But this couple came in to the police, and they said they'd seen a light in the area, and they'd watched that it got brighter, and then it started to move away. So they decided, not very wisely, to follow it. After a short bit, decided that was a bad idea and retraced their steps, at which point the light followed them. And the story doesn't say exactly when the light disappeared, but they got to town and then, of course, gave their story. So that's one of the earliest versions of the story, or accountings. We'll then move forward to either June or July of 1912. I don't know which. And there is a guy by the name of Henry Lamond. Lamond said he was traveling in the early hours of the morning on horseback when he saw what he believed to be the headlights of a car somewhere between 5 or 10 miles away. The thing to note here is that if you think about a car that far away, it's going to be a single light. It's
course.
far enough that the headlights aren't going to stand out as individual headlights.
Yeah.
And I recall from his account, he thought they were acetylene car headlights.
Yeah, because it had a bit of a greenish tinge to it.
Yeah. Apparently, early car headlights were not just electric. They had different methods of doing it.
Weird, yeah.
As with a lot of things with cars in the very beginning, everybody was doing it their own way, and some were better than others.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he sees this car, and he said the light was coming his direction, and he thought that it was moving about 10 miles an hour.
And there were two?
Well, it was still one, and when it got close enough that he figured that if it was a car, they should have split, that's when he knew something was going on.
Right.
Because it didn't split. The light was 5 to 10 feet off of the ground, and he and the light passed each other. I understand that he believed the light was on the road. He, however, it sounds like was not on the road because it wasn't like they passed, close to one another. But he said the light traveled for about 200 yards, and then it just sort of faded away.
So he was just off-roading?
I'm guessing that he was.
Because this
It
doesn't
was something
seem...
to do with he was in the sheep trade, and I know he was going from one place to another. He'd left like 4 in the morning because he had to be there first light to start working, and I think it was shearing season if I remember right. And this is totally from memory because his story is one of a bunch. But
Right.
Well, this story significantly departs from the other stories because in almost all these stories, you cannot catch up with the light. And in this one, he not only caught up with it, it passed him and went by him.
he's not the only one that gets close to it, though.
Yeah.
But
I
it
mean,
was-
this I do this because this is a slice of different styles of stories.
So I'm sorry, maybe I missed it. Did he have the impression that the car was heading towards him, or
Correct.
it overtook him?
It was heading towards him.
So they
He
were
saw it
headed
in the
opposite
distance.
directions.
They were heading towards each other.
Weird.
A little bit.
Yeah, weird.
So we'll move forward just a year in time to 1913. This is a very simple one. There was some folks who were out in the evening hours, and they said they saw a ball of light traveling about 5 feet off the ground, and it passed their buggy as if, quote unquote, it was controlled by something, but it didn't seem to be going just like Lamont's story. They thought it was maybe going about 10 miles an hour.
It was a drone, obviously.
Obviously.
Buggy, were they, I mean, was it, the impression I have of Henry, right, is that it's like a highway kind of situation, right, as much as
He's taking the track that on his horse and it's going down the main road. Is that what you're getting at? Because I think that's what it is.
Yeah, but the roads, I mean, yeah, it's just weird because then you've got buggies but you've also got cars, and it's weird to me that somebody in that day and age would just assume like that's a car.
Because cars are the only things at that time that are making lights bright enough.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was thinking too. Cars were not that rare in Australia at the time, even in the outback.
Yeah.
But it's funny to me, right, that we're talking about like people who are not in cars saying well, that's a car, right? I mean, if cars are so ubiquitous at this time,
They were not ubiquitous at that time.
right? But
Yeah.
so then
But they
it's
were
like,
common
but then why
enough
are
that
they?
you knew what it was. And
Maybe. I mean, you know what it is, but that you would initially say like that looks like a car to me. I don't know. I guess for me, it's just like a weird thing.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I get it. I get it.
I don't know why it's weird. It's
I
just
don't know
weird
why
to me.
it is either. But
Yeah,
Sorry.
I don't know.
Sorry.
So the next one that I've got for us is from the 10th of February, 1951. So
A
we jumped
considerable
ahead.
jump.
Well, yeah, I had to because there's so many of them. You just have to jump.
I'm
take
sure there's
decent
lots
jumps.
and lots of people that saw them in
Oh,
the
yeah.
meantime. I'm sure.
So this is from a man named Mr. C. Rhodes, and Mr. Rhodes
No doubt standing for Cecil.
is it?
I have no idea.
Okay. Mr. Rhodes said that at about 8:30 at night, he saw the light hovering in the sky about 15 feet in the air, and it was moving from east to west. And then as he described it, it moved about 40 degrees, which I'm assuming when he's saying the east to west, it traveled about 40 degrees on the compass.
Yeah.
At
So
which
it traveled, say, from true north to about northwest.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he said once it did that, it then started to bounce up and down in the sky really fast or very quickly, at which point, until it stopped, held steady. A cloud went by, and it went behind the cloud, but he said he could see it bouncing up and down, peaking above and below the cloud, and then when the cloud eventually went by, it was static in its original position again, and then it zipped away.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
Isn't February in Australia summer?
No.
Would it have actually been dark at 8:30 p.m. in February?
That's a good question. What's the latitude of this place?
I don't know the latitude, and I don't know what time it gets dark there in February, so I don't know. I mean,
Just
doesn't
assuming
have-
that's
but
like the equivalent
it
of
doesn't
our
have to be
August.
pitch black. I mean, you
No.
could see a bright light in
Sure.
dusky conditions.
I'm just wondering, based on the next thing you're going to say, if maybe he wasn't seeing the sun.
Like, okay, so here's what. Okay, I know what you're getting at. I have written down in my notes here that we're all looking at that maybe this guy had too much to drink, and so I had checked the lunar calendar, which showed me that the moon was at less than a quarter of a moon, so there was no way that it could have been the moon. You're getting at that maybe it was the sun, and he was in an altered state from mushrooms, watching
Exactly.
the sun bounce around. I don't know that. That's a good question. I didn't even think to look at when sunset was.
Yeah.
So I just did a quick Google.
Paused.
We do that occasionally. Not often though, so stop asking. 6:54 is when sunset.
So yeah,
was.
okay, it could have been the moon or
So
something.
it had to be a light. It couldn't have been the sun.
Could have been a star.
Jupiter. Could have been a rocket
Mars.
launch.
Could have been a lot
an
of
airplane.
things.
Could have been all kinds of things.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
that is what this gentleman said he saw.
That seems. Sorry, that's fine.
Yeah.
It just seems like early
I know.
sunset for whatever. Okay.
So we're going to move on to 1974. Again, the month and day are not listed. There's a farmer who's working in his fields, and he says that he heard a noise that evening while he was working, and the sound got louder and louder, and he described it like air escaping from a tire, that
Like
kind of
the
high pitch.
No, it's the like, ee.
Yeah, that kind of lovely noise.
But this guy was working on a tractor, right? Yeah,
He was driving.
He was
a
driving
tractor.
a tractor.
But he heard it and he stopped and he got off the tractor.
But he stayed near it.
And he started walking away because he's trying to figure out where this noise was coming from. And he decided that it was coming from behind a boulder. He went over and looked behind the boulder, and that's when he says he saw a bright orange light floating just above the ground.
Like close to him.
Close to him. Well, he tried to get near it, but he said he felt like there was pressure on him, similar to heat. You know, you feel pressure on your skin from heat, but there was no heat. Every time people do this, I always just think we really are just big monkeys. He grabbed a stick and he tried to poke it with a stick, but he couldn't poke it with the stick.
Well, he wasn't waving at it. Get back!
Yeah.
Get
No,
back!
he said he was trying to poke it with the stick, but he could never get the stick to touch it or get close enough. It was kind of like it was magnetically being pushed away every time he went
Interesting.
for it.
I probably would have actually tried to poke it with a stick myself.
Yeah, I know.
That
We're
seems like a
all-
reasonable thing to do,
We're
actually.
big monkeys.
We
We
are.
do it.
Yeah.
We're tool-using apes.
Yeah.
So at this point, after having tried to hit it with a stick, he said that's the point that it started changing color. It turned to green. It then faded away, as did the sound. After which he said he smelled kind of a sickly sweet smell, which then also kind of quickly dissipated.
Okay.
Yeah, his story's one of the weird ones, but there's all
Well,
kinds of weird
they're
ones
all,
like this.
They all vary quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ready for the next one?
Not quite. I've got to give me just a second here. Hang on. Okay.
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 Good. So we're going to go to 1980. This is one of the ones that I told you is kind of an outlier as well when we were talking about getting close.
They're all kind of outliers.
Two men were driving from the town of Baduri to Bulia when they saw a bright light on the side of the road. They pulled up next to it, at which point they said the light took off, sprayed their car with gravel, and they watched it disappear through the trees. After it was gone, they got out of the car, and they said that they saw a fine white powder on the ground, but nobody ever collected that to figure out what it was.
See, a fine white powder, like maybe cocaine.
I don't know if that's true or
You know,
not.
maybe meth. I mean, I'm not sure here.
Well,
but-
I don't know. I don't think at that time, 1980, I don't think that would have been as much. But it is weird that they say there's this powder.
Well, this is the first recorded incident of the light actually spraying somebody with gravel. I think maybe it was just somebody in a hot rod who just peeled out and just showered them with gravel.
And I'm not going to disagree with that, Joe.
Yeah.
I've got to tell the story as
that's cool.
I find it. So, but I can't disagree with you on that.
But yeah, the lights normally don't spray you with gravel.
No, that's not normally what my lamp does.
Yeah.
We're going to go to our next one. This is on the 2nd of May, 1981, and the person in question is Detective Lyle Booth. Mr. Booth was camping outside of Bulia near a dried-up watering hole, and just to kind of give a frame of reference for the light, the surrounding vegetation was short trees, so they would have been, like 15, 20 feet high-ish. They weren't tall forests.
Probably even less than that.
He said in the middle of the night he saw a light that he first thought was a headlight, and it wasn't until he realized that the direction he was looking wasn't actually the main road, so it couldn't have been headlights from the road. And he says the light, which he watched for a while, was about 1,500 to 2,000 meters away. And it moved in a straight line across the horizon, but it didn't, of course, get any farther away from him. And it was whitish in color. And then after moving for a bit, it stopped and stayed in one place steadily for about half an hour, at which point he fell asleep.
Yeah.
He woke up, I think he said he woke up like 1 o'clock in the morning. It was a couple hours later. He woke up. And he said that the light had moved. It had now made its way over to the campsite of another person who was in his party. And that was maybe that it was a woman. Her campsite was about 1,000 meters away.
Actually, I heard like 600 meters away.
Well, again,
Yeah.
again, 600 or 1,000, it varies.
That's just one of the things I've wondered about in this story. She's in the same party, but she's like 1,000 meters away.
Privacy.
Is that what it is?
How many feet is that?
I mean, a kilometer. I mean, you can do 100 feet. That'd probably do it.
Well, you know what? I've been camping and I've heard you snore, and sometimes I think 600 meters might be what it takes.
Well, okay. That's what it is. Yeah.
No, I have no idea why she was so far away. I really don't. But, his story goes on. He said the light had dimmed. It had gotten more yellowish, and it was now about 3 to 6 feet off of the ground, and it lit up the ground below it, meaning that it was casting light in her camp rather than
it's just it actually is a little floating fireball,
something like that. Yeah. And he said he watched it for about 5 minutes, at which point it suddenly just dropped to the ground and it went out. It dropped and disappeared. And again, kind of like with was it Booth or not? No, this is Booth with Rhodes. I checked the lunar calendar, and the new moon was on the 6th of that month, which was 4 days afterwards, which means there wouldn't have been but the barest sliver of moon. So again, this guy couldn't have been just staring at the moon.
Well, you wouldn't say if it was 6 days after, it would be a crescent moon. It wouldn't be
But it wouldn't be much of a crescent.
No, it wouldn't. Yeah, no, it wouldn't be a half moon or anything like that. No, but it would be a quarter moon, something like that.
Well, okay, listen, that's actually the last one that we're going to go through in terms of stories, because we could really keep this up all night long.
Oh, yeah, there's lots of stories of sightings out there.
There are tons and tons.
People were chased by lights. People chased the lights. People shot at the lights. People were shot at by the lights.
That's not true.
Well, okay, not quite.
That one didn't happen. But no, it's been all kinds of colors. So it's been white, bluish, grayish, orangish, yellowish. It's steady. It's pulsed. It's moved towards people, away from people, parallel to the ground, bouncing up and down. It's been noisy. It's been smelly. It hasn't been smelly. It's been quiet. I mean, there's just all these things.
Yeah, I think human imagination, at least. I'm not saying the lights don't exist, but human imagination has thrown a few things in here.
Well, and I think one of the things that I've noticed in the stories the stories from the last 30 years that I think is a good example of what you're talking about, things that have been added to it, is that radio and electrical interference have been added. So suddenly the lights showed up and my radio went crazy and my car conked out, and I really feel like that is something that has made its way in from UFO stories.
Yeah.
Ufologists are going crazy over it because now, that got added in, so it must be an alien thing. That's what it is.
For sure.
So it definitely has changed over time. I'm in total agreement with that. So with that, I guess it's time to go into theories.
Mushrooms.
Mushrooms are not on the theory list, but thank you for adding that one, Joe. Now that we've covered that.
You're welcome.
The first theory is, I'm going to say, the easiest to discredit, and that is that the lights are birds or insects.
Yeah. I mean, really? Come on. Seriously.
Well, let me explain it. So this is what the theory says. Is it says that there are a swarm of bugs that have eaten a naturally bioluminescent plant or fungus of some kind, or are naturally bioluminescent themselves, or a bird that has eaten a bunch of bioluminescent bugs, or a bird that might be bioluminescent, is what these people are saying.
Right, I know. And so none of these things actually exist, right?
None of these things have ever been found. No, that's absolutely
I mean, the whole idea,
right.
The whole idea that a bird could ingest a bunch of, say, like,
glowing gnats or fireflies,
fireflies, and then start glowing those itself is, like, ridiculous.
Yeah, okay, but that assumes that it's a natural occurrence, right? I mean, there's a TV show I used to watch where they engineered, like, chipmunks to be bioluminescent. They just, like, found the gene and switched it on.
No, they have done such things.
Yeah.
They've done those things, so
But,
we're assuming that this would be the natural. I mean, it's possible that Australian scientists near Min were
200 years ago?
Yeah, around, yeah.
Okay, I'm not explaining the 200 years ago. But
Okay.
maybe as recent as 50 years ago,
Well,
maybe even as recent as 100 years ago. Probably not, but
it could be like time travel too. I mean,
Yeah.
Belly
and I did do a lot of research on that.
yeah. Scientists have traveled back in time with bioluminescent chipmunks to create these lights.
Or birds.
Or
I mean, it
birds.
doesn't have to be chipmunks, right? It's just anything.
I like the idea of chipmunks.
Yeah, but
That's
I
'cause
mean,
you
I
like
guess
chipmunks.
that's just
Yeah.
assuming, right? I'm not. I hate this theory too. I totally
Okay.
agree. But I just feel like I have to pitch in for the fact that like scientists could have created a bioluminescent bird, fine,
They could have.
and it could have
But I
escaped,
doubt
and they
they
were
have.
like, I'm not going to tell anyone.
But birds.
Evil scientists, that's where
Birds are
their,
bad.
their
This is a bad theory.
secret lair
Yeah.
is, and that's
Yeah.
how they protect it.
Yeah.
Bioluminescent birds.
Yeah, besides which, birds don't usually stick together in a tight little ball when they fly.
Yeah.
No.
Insects neither. Yeah.
Birds are pretty bad at night anyway.
Mm.
So the next theory that we have is swamp gas, which is also known as ignis fatuus.
This seems silly.
Okay,
Yeah, it
yeah, I
does.
know. It's they say it like 100 times in every Men in Black movie.
Yeah.
Swamp-
There are many swamps near this area, only hundreds and maybe thousands of miles away.
So swamp gas is actually the common name for biogas, which typically forms in a wetland environment. Those gases are primarily methane with hydrogen and some carbon dioxide in them. And it does actually happen because there's all that organic material under the water.
Producing methane and stuff.
Yep,
Yeah,
and it rots, and then as the gas is released, it can lead to cause a spontaneous ignition. If you've ever watched Princess Bride and you look at the fire swamp, all of the explosions constantly, that's the Hollywood amped up version of what swamp gas can do.
Yeah, okay.
And interestingly, there's quite a few researchers who have seen these fireballs, and they seem to have been spontaneously combusting in these swamps. One thing that is noted is the fact that and these are researchers not necessarily today, but some of these are in the 1800s, they would try to approach the fire. So they would see this gas starting to ignite, and they would try to approach it, and it would retreat from them. It's believed that the reason is that because these people are moving forward, they're causing an air current, and that is pushing the fuel source, the gas, forward as well, which is why the fire seems to move away. So that's some older research on swamp gas.
But the thing about it is we're talking like people are saying that they're at a distance of say 1,000 meters from this light, and they're moving towards it, and it's moving away from them.
Yep,
So-
that is in. It doesn't follow along with this.
But
Yeah.
one of the things you can think about, right, is that they've estimated how bright they think that light is and how big they think that light is, and that they think it is that distance.
Mm-hmm.
But we know, like, there's such a thing as an optical illusion, right? So it may be a dimmer, smaller light than the brain is perceiving. Therefore, it may be much closer to that person than they are anticipating, right? And that's reasonable to assume.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
No,
fair.
that's absolutely true.
It's fair, but although we do have two eyes, which gives us kind of like 3D perception.
Oh no, for sure.
But
But it's
in-
also
but in the
dark, and you're
dark-
looking at a light, and
Yeah, no, it's true.
you know, if you're thinking it's much brighter. I've done this before. I've thought, oh, that car behind me has a headlight out, and then suddenly it's like, no, that's a motorcycle right behind me. Oh God, what do I do?
Oh, yeah.
Or
Yeah,
that
definitely.
happens a
You're
lot.
laying in the dark and you see what looks like a light way
Yeah.
far away, only to realize that it's actually something that's only a couple of feet away, but very dim. It's just it's a perspective thing.
Or sometimes it's just something that's like stuck to your glasses, but
Yeah, that
yeah,
could for
but-
you be it.
yeah, probably. But generally speaking, though, you're going to move around a little bit. You're going to it's not just the 3 inches or 4 inches between your eyes. You're going to actually be moving around side to side. You'll get a really good idea of the distance to this thing.
Not always.
Yeah, but usually.
but that's I
Yeah.
understand where you're going, but that's not 100%, especially in a dark environment. Something about swamp gas that I did want to point out that I found that was really interesting is that there was a researcher in 2000. He was a British guy. He suggested that, and by the way, the fun note is this is after his failure for 20 years in a controlled environment to create swamp gas, to create the fireballs, that the lights were what's called cold flames. And I don't know if you guys have ever heard this before.
Yeah, totally.
It's so I don't completely understand the science behind it, but it's that gases that are nearing their ignition ignition point will put out some light, and that may be what it is. So it's warm enough that they're almost going to ignite, but they don't actually, but they're creating then this luminescence. Problem, of course, for the entire swamp gas issue is the location, as Joe very, very wisely pointed out in the very beginning of this, which is
swampy.
It's not swampy. This is known as channel country, which if you look at it from the aerials, it is nothing but just fingers of rivers and creeks going up hills. It's all dry. It's in the outback. I looked up the rainfall, and they get on average 188 millimeters of rain a year, which is about 7.5 inches. Compare that to a place like, say, Western Oregon, where we get 200 inches a year. That's 5 meters of water.
Yeah.
If you look at Southern California, they're kind of in a bad decade. They are averaging about 23 inches a year, which is
they're
600
in
millimeters.
severe drought.
And they're getting way up and above. You actually have to go to a place here in the States like Arizona, which is a desert, to get the same levels of minimal rainfall.
So there ain't no swamps in this area.
No, there's not enough constant water to create the rot to then create the gas. It dries out. The gas would escape. It
On
wouldn't be trapped.
on top of that, it's like swamp gas. It can rise up. It can self ignite, but you can't just chase a car or run away from a car.
No.
Not really.
Absolutely not. So let's move on to our next one, because none of us are in love with swamp gas.
No.
Smelly theory
I
that
hope
it is.
I'm not.
We're going to go to one that I know Devin will like.
Yeah.
Aliens.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This is obviously
Actually, unfortunately for this one, I don't think it's aliens.
See, I actually like Aliens for this one just because it ties together some of the inconsistencies.
Oh, for
and
sure.
I find a lot of humor in it. I would love this to be a situation where there's some race that has decided that the Outback is the best place that they need to do their version of Mario Kart at night in their awesome glowing little spaceships.
Well, I mean, it makes it's like a very... realistically, right? This is a country where there's a strong history of documentation versus, like, say, Africa, where it's all like a lot of it is still oral tradition, right?
Oh, okay.
Or like has been.
I
at
see
least when
what
they
you're
were
getting
like.
at.
So like, there's
Written.
people who are like have this written history, right? It's white people, and like everybody loves to mess with white people, right? It's also like this great landing ground where it seems like if you were coming to Earth, you were like, there's kind of a smaller place that we can still land at that. We can be like self-contained at.
It's not
It's
heavily
Australia.
populated.
We can land without being observed.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Here's why I don't like the aliens thing is because they send down these little drones or whatever to observe and gather information, and yet they make them glow hugely. I mean, wouldn't you want a stealthier little drone than
Okay,
that?
but maybe they don't have night vision technology.
Yeah.
What do you mean, what? Meh? Like, you have literally no way of perceiving how different technologies in this universe have evolved.
Okay.
Let's be fair, right?
But
They don't even have to
seriously-
be carbon-based entities.
But seriously, why would their little drones or their little spacecraft glow?
Maybe they perceive light a different way than we do.
Okay, now that I will accept as a possible reason of why they glow. If they see on a different spectrum.
Or they
Yeah.
just create different... I mean, there are life forms on Earth that are in a different spectrum than our human eyes can even perceive. So, like...
Yeah, but if they're let's presume these are advanced, fairly smart aliens. So they understand the whole electromagnetic spectrum, and they recognize that if they're down here to observe us stealthily, they will know that they shouldn't be emitting in the visible light range. They would know that.
They
Don't you
should,
think?
but they also might be like humans and so self-important where they're like, they won't notice.
Could be an accident. Somebody left
These
the lights
guys
on.
are dumb, but it also could be just, like, we think we are so smart as humans that, like, aliens would be smart, but if we, if there were a race that were smarter than us, they might be like, wow, these guys are freaking idiots.
We're just going to screw with them.
Like, well, we're going to screw with them. That's my favorite theory, right? Is that, like, aliens just messing with you, right? But also it could be like, they won't notice.
Uh-huh.
They won't notice. Like, they're not going
Well,
to see us. There's no one there.
I could sort of kind of see that in the sense that, they would, this dumb bureaucratic mindset mentality, maybe, I guess, but it just seems to me like at least one alien scientist would have said, hey, they might perceive electromagnetic radiation in this bandwidth, which we can't perceive, but maybe they can. So maybe we should not be emitting
but
in that.
put that in.
But no. What happened then was he was taken before a special committee, and accused of crimes against the state and executed.
Yeah.
So maybe
So I
that's what
think
happened,
my argument against that is put that in our terms, right? Think if we discovered aliens and one scientist at NASA was like, but wait, they might perceive sound in this way. So we have to make our spaceships that are going to go investigate this silent. Obviously, everyone would be like, no, that's too expensive. We're not doing that. And also, they don't perceive sound. There's no way they perceive sound like that. That's insane. So we wouldn't do it. And then we would, have a bunch of alien stories, lore of people being like, bleh.
But
it's weird. You just hear this sound.
And you're right, is that they may not, something that you hinted at earlier, and that is that they may not perceive light in the same way. It's like there's what is that crazy shrimp that can break aquariums, and they have figured out that they see a million more colors than we do.
Yeah.
So they may not have ever figured it out, but we've belabored that enough.
I don't know. We should talk about aliens probably soon, but
yeah.
For this, I like the idea that it's aliens messing with people, but I also don't think it's the strongest theory.
So we're going to go to the next one, which is related, which is that these lights are actually from some sort of dimensional rift. In other words, there's something that is on another plane of existence that is trying to is leaking through or trying to come through into our dimension, at which point it may or may not be an intentional set of lights.
No.
I mean, it's debated by a lot of people how this works. Not by me, because I don't really buy it, but it's another theory that you see out there.
Yeah, I like the idea of a dimensional rift, but I think that you wouldn't just see lights coming through. You would see,
dude, come on.
You would see cars, houses, large rocks. You'd see all kinds of crap coming through.
You would think,
but not just lights.
Okay, well, let's move to the next theory after that, which is ball lightning. So I remember when I was a kid. It's a thing. We know it's a thing now, but I still remember ball lightning being kind of a myth when I was a kid. And
really, it's always. I thought ball lightning was always kind of proven to occur.
No, they didn't really prove ball lightning was actually a true thing until I think about 20 or 30 years ago. It was in the, I'm lying. I'm making that date up. It was in the mid 60s.
Yeah.
They knew, but we still don't know exactly how it happens. It's probably electricity, like lightning.
We've got to capture some of those balls and interrogate them.
The problem is we have never been able to do that.
I know.
They've been observed in nature, but that's it. But interestingly, for this particular story, for the Min Min lights, there are some similar descriptions for ball lightning as there are for the lights. So I'm just going to go through this list here, and you'll see some of the similarities. There's some ones that are completely dissimilar, but I've pruned those out. I just want to make these little connections. Star moves erratically or slowly up and down or left and right, can hover in place, generally spherical, though sometimes pear-shaped with fuzzy edges, which I feel like that sometimes. The diameter is anywhere from 1 to 100 centimeters, which is a half an inch to 40 inches. They range in color from red to orange and yellow. Yellow is the most common. They're rarely reported creating any heat, though sometimes when they disappear, they can cause heat or a bit of an explosion. And they do tend to have a smell associated with them, which is the smell of ozone.
Makes sense.
Well, yeah, it totally makes sense. Now, of course, the problem with ball lightning is there's never any storms reported. I mean, it's good weather. That's why people are out.
Yeah, exactly. Ball lightning, there has to be a lightning storm, right?
Yes.
Thunderstorm, usually.
Yes.
Not always. usually, but this would be a like statistically improbable amount of ball lightning without storm.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, there would have to be some. It's almost. It would have to be there's some kind of catalyst to cause it, which is actually something that's in a later theory.
Okay.
Next theory of the 17,000 theories that I have listed
Yeah,
here
for real.
is
Yeah, settle in. You might want to go to the bathroom right now, listeners. Yeah, take a break. Put it on pause.
so our next one is Joe. How do you pronounce this? You've said this word, and I always
think
mess it
Fata
up.
Morgana.
Yeah, it's Fata
Thank you.
Morgana.
Okay. So, Fata Morgana. There, I got it right once. So, there's this theory is put out there by Professor Jack Pettigrew, who's observed the Min lights many, many times. And he's done some really good research into it. And just so we know, how do I say this word again?
Fata
Fata
Morgana.
Morgana.
Thank you. That thing is a type of mirage or a light reflection. And it's typically seen on the horizon or high up in the clouds sometimes. And it's usually at the horizon. So if anybody remembers last year, there was all that stuff going around the internet of that Chinese city in the clouds.
I remember that.
Yeah.
That was pretty awesome.
It was really cool.
Yeah, it was.
That's what this phenomena is.
I got to say, if I looked up in the clouds and I saw a city up there, I would crap my pants.
I would be very, very curious as to what was going on or
Yeah.
what was about to come down.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so what it's caused by is it's caused by a temperature inversion where cold, dense air is trapped next to the ground under a layer of warmer air. And depending on, they say the shape, so I'm guessing it's the mass or the density and how far of an area it covers of that inversion, light near the ground can be refracted and sent through that cold. So light normally travels in a straight line, or the curvature of the Earth, eventually it's going to go away, and the farther away you are over the horizon, you're not going to see it. If this cold air is covering that area, the light can then travel through it, so the light actually bends and follows the curvature of the Earth because that air is trapped next to it.
Yeah, well, what it is like, imagine your eyeglasses and they refract, and that's how they correct your vision. It's because the glass is a different density than the air around it. And same thing with that. I mean, hot air versus cold air, different density, have that sharp layer, it's going to bend that light.
Right.
Just the way the lenses in your eyeglasses do. And yeah, that's how it works.
It's a very similar set of conditions to what I still feel is my favorite theory for skyquakes.
Right.
'Cause
It's the same. It's the visual version of the audio version
Yes.
of what you were saying for skyquakes.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. And normally this happens over water because that's where you get a good inversion of air temperatures because the water temperature itself is going to help cause that. But according to Pettigrew, the channel country of the outback is also a really good
Yeah,
place
I mean,
for
I
it.
would assume, I would guess that the outback is kind of the opposite of a cool, watery area, right? It's a dry, hot area, so it may create an opposite inversion, which I guess I don't know enough about science to say one way or the
Well,
other.
the way I
If
understand
inversion is
it's
like the same either way.
Well, it's because of the fact that it's channel country, so it's a lot of ravines and valleys, and so
Which are
that
cold.
air can get trapped in there. So that's how I understand. He
So we're
says this
talking
can
a
happen.
small version of
Yeah,
Fata Morgana.
The land is...
No, it doesn't seem to be.
Yeah, essentially the land has been bombarded by sunlight all day. It's hot.
Right, so it gets
it's
hot.
And then the atmosphere cools down fairly rapidly, but the
Especially
land,
when there's no ozone.
yeah, and the land is still still warm. It's still re-radiating infrared and everything. It's still got warmth, and that's when that temperature inversion occurs. And so.
But it's the same either way, right? If it's hot on the bottom or cold on the bottom, the inversion creates a similar effect.
I think it's got to be.
It's got to be cold on the bottom.
No, it's got to be cold on the top and warm on the bottom.
Cold air is trapped next to the ground
I
under a layer of warmer air. So it is cold air on the bottom.
So cold air close to the ground. I mean, you're not going to have a layer like this high. It's going to be cold air. It's going to be warm ground, cold air for God knows how, and then warm air above it. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Well, I mean, that's the way it's described. Is it's
Well, that can
cold
be
air
the
trapped
same
next to the
thing.
ground. The exact amount we're belaboring.
Yeah.
The point is that this seems to be the place that it happens a lot.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I could see it in an arid environment, in a dry, you're not going to see it in a temperate environment like we have here in Oregon, but in an arid environment or at sea or like down around, say, Antarctica. I could see it happening all the time.
Yeah, well, and here's what Pettigrew did. He and 6 observers, they parked a car, and they left the headlights on, and then they drove 10 kilometers away, which is 6 miles. And so that means that, of course, put some high ground between them and the car.
Yeah.
They then, and they went out, obviously, at a time that they expected this to take place, so they knew the conditions were right, and they parked, and they waited, and sure enough, in those conditions, they could see the headlights of the car that they had parked several miles away.
Yeah.
They put out a set of really awesome photos as well, because that morning the inversion was still there, and a mountain range or a plateau range that was over the horizon was projected up, and you can see in the images as the temperature inversion is eliminated, it looks like that mountain range sinks back into the horizon. Right. So it's really cool.
No, that's cool. And then they went back to the car they left there, and they found the battery had run flat.
Oh, I'm sure.
And they didn't bring jumper cables.
Well, I'm surprised the car was still there.
Yeah.
But my main problem with this theory, what he has done makes total sense to me. What it doesn't clarify or fix for me is that when we're driving cars around that are generating very, very bright lights, I get it. But 200 years ago, the brightest light at night was a campfire or the moon. So and you would think that you would probably recognize some of this. So I don't think that they would be bright enough, and it doesn't work for me. I have a problem with it being, it's only when we have this technology.
Here's the deal is like, when the Aborigines were occupying Australia, you lived in a fairly confined area that you ranged in. And at night, you look over that direction, and there's not a hillside up there that somebody can build a fire on. Right? There's no campfire on a hillside because that's just open, flat range.
Right.
But if this phenomenon is occurring, if there's somebody over the horizon, kind of up on the hillside, that's built themselves a nice big bright campfire, and you're seeing it, and you know that cannot possibly be where you're looking at because there ain't no hillside there. I could see why that would kind of give you the willies.
And I will add on to that like, I understand your whole, it would be, like, you would be able to see, like, that's a fire. Looking at those images from China, for instance, right, you see, yeah, that kind of looks like a city. Oh, weird. But if it's a campfire, and I'll agree with you with the, like, brightness, fine, whatever.
The brightness is mostly my issue.
Right, but I think that, like, the shape, it's a light.
Well, but I also I question how often they would be building big old bonfires.
Yeah.
But
it's not something you do every night. There's a lot of fuel.
But in fairness, it's not like the Aborigines reported this like as a constant occurrence. It's something that has been reported more and more with the more technology in Australia.
And the prevalence of brighter lights.
Yeah.
I understand that. I like the theory. It doesn't solve it all for me.
No.
If you read the older accountings, it's especially the ones where it's moves towards and past somebody. That's when I'm really like, wait, what the hell? That doesn't work. If indeed it does pass somebody.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I look at this phenomenon as basically being kind of like a rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's an optical illusion. It's a refraction. Same thing. Actually, a rainbow is just refraction also.
Well, but
try to catch the end of a rainbow, can you?
But
you can't really.
The other thing that this can't do is it can't cast light at a specific point. In other words, if you see it, it's an optical illusion. It's a ways away. It's not going to light up the ground underneath where you see it, which people have said they have seen it lighting up the area around it. So again, there's something
that's the problem.
I struggle with.
Either his theory is bogus or these people's accounts are bogus.
One of the two.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to go on to theory number 27.
No.
this-
72, I think.
Yeah, it's something like that. This theory is natural electrical discharges.
Which I kind of discount.
And I'll be honest, I don't completely understand the science behind this, but I'm going to try and explain it anyway. So the theory is that there are certain minerals in the area that are undergoing some sort of mechanical stress, and that stress is, as a result, creating an electrical charge, and these things are able to retain that charge rather than immediately dissipating it right back away.
Which I find hard to believe.
And it's at night that those charges are then being let go, and that's what people are seeing. And this process of things building up an electrical charge through some form of mechanical action is known as piezoelectricity, I believe is how you say it.
Yeah.
And that stress can be, according to what I've read, a lot of different things. It can be, people say it's tectonic forces, it's magnetic forces, it's vibrations caused by sound, or the striking of objects against one another, so like sand against a rock in the wind maybe. And it can be a lot of different materials, but apparently they have to have some sort of crystalline structure to them to be able to retain the charge. So it's theory, or this piezoelectricity, this is pretty common. It's actually what the igniter on your barbecue does.
Oh, yeah.
That's
No,
how it works.
It's, very commonly used.
I didn't know that. It's pretty cool.
No, yeah.
So, like I said, it's the theory is that there are multiple things building up a charge in the day, and then at night they're letting it go, and that's what people are seeing. The problem is that nobody has ever been able to make but the smallest of sparks with this process.
Well,
it's silly.
yeah. What's that?
I said, yeah, it's silly.
No, it is. It's kind of like the idea that you can apply like put two wires on a light bulb, cause the light bulb to light up, and then lift the light bulb off of those wires and float it through the air, and the light bulb is going to stay lit up somehow. That's basically what this theory says.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah, it's ludicrous.
Yeah, so it's luminescent bugs.
Yeah.
Next theory is awesome because it had to be made in the 70s, and that is psychic influence.
No.
Yeah.
And the theory, if I understand it, which honestly I don't, is that the viewer is psychically projecting their thoughts ahead of them, and they are seeing that, maybe. And that's what that's causing the lights.
Doesn't really explain how they're like passing in the night.
Well, actually, I mean,
Well,
that
it's a
actually
Freudian thing.
that actually explains it better than the other theories, because if it's all in your head, then sure, the lights can go wherever they want.
I guess
because
that's true.
It's all in your head.
yeah.
Except the lights don't pass through things ever, which if they were all in your head, I would imagine that they could go anywhere that you looked. So
No
it seems
idea.
weird. Yeah, I have no idea on this one. The last theory that I
That you have.
that I have, and then you're gonna parade out something. I don't know what it is yet. Surprise!
If I had that black book that you have, I'd have it out.
You'd be tapping it as I do. I'm waiting. Come on.
Yep.
My turn. Okay. Last theory that I have is that it is ghosts and or poltergeists, to which I say boo.
Boo.
No. There is some folklore to this. Western folklore says that these kind of lights, typically they're people who have done bad things in their life and are then doomed to eternity to wander the world at night, and they are using this light to attract people and lead them astray. If you go to Eastern folklore, there's a similar vein. Sometimes they say it's demons. Sometimes they say that it is local people who have died and are trying to help or maybe lead astray the other locals that are around them. I mean, this is all based on like the will-o'-wisp folklore, which is really like there's some crazy stories that people have come up with to describe them, like extremely elaborate. Like, suddenly they deal with the devil and God and heaven and hell, and like all these things get wrapped up into it, and it's really quite surprising. I didn't realize how big some of that was.
Yeah.
But, the thing about it is like if you look at all the evil people that have died, all the dead bodies around the world, they're pretty evenly distributed.
Yeah.
And yet this particular phenomena occurs in only a few places.
Well, there's bad dead people magnets.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. All the bad people move to and die in these places that had
It's
these certain
it's
meteorological
a subdivision
phenomena.
for the dead.
Yeah, that go on, in which there are these atmospheric inversions. That's where the evil people go to die. I mean, that must be what it is.
I mean, that's I don't know. I mean, I'm not a big proponent of it being ghosts and ghoulies.
No.
Well, I have one.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
Meteor showers?
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay.
I mean, flesh this out
with
for
like
me.
a few, and this is just obviously going off of the list provided, right? But with one outlier, most of these fit pretty solidly into what I understand has been the history of the Leonid meteor showers in Australia.
I think we've. No, it's a different meteor shower I'm thinking of.
And I went through and kind of circled okay, so this is a date that, a year where it was at its kind of peak. And I can understand how when you see something flaming coming out of the sky, I'm willing to say that part of it could be your perception of time pausing a little bit. Right? That things maybe aren't hovering as much as you're like, oh my God, that thing.
The time standing still.
And your brain, makes it stand still.
Have you seen a fireball, though, ever?
Have I personally?
Yeah.
No.
I saw one once years ago, and it didn't last very long.
No, but I think, if you're out by yourself in the middle of nowhere and you're seeing, you're driving fast, right? A lot of these are people in cars.
In modern times.
In modern times, there are people in cars driving fast towards a thing that might be hurtling fast to the earth. There could be a perception of that thing is getting closer to me while I'm getting closer to it, and so it's coming towards me, or it's going further away.
But a meteor does come down pretty quick, and people have reported, like 15 or 20 minutes of travel with this thing in pursuit. Mm-hmm. So that causes me pause with your theory.
Yeah, meteors don't last more than a few seconds.
Sure.
Really.
Granted. Yeah. But during a shower, right, what's to say that it's not like a bunch of different ones because you're obviously not
You're
just,
looking away and looking back.
Right.
Okay.
Granted. Okay, it's not a great theory, but then the outlier here.
It's good as some others, so yeah.
And the outlier here would be the farmer who was on his tractor.
Oh, the guy who heard the noise?
In 1974.
And wouldn't look behind the boulder.
Yeah, and he said that it was burning orange, yellow, and then it turned green, and then it died out. And the sound that he was describing, I would not say was unusual for like an actual flame.
If it was, there are some things I've heard things when they burn,
and then
they make that high pitched noise.
Right. And actually, do you know what burns green? Because it turns out not a lot of things burn green. But
phosphorus.
Borax. And do you know what they use as fertilizers for crops? Borax.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just for cleaning?
Nope, not just for cleaning.
Yeah.
So it's reasonable to assume, in my mind, that something caught fire. Whether it was, again, like a meteor, but there weren't really meteor showers at that time, but there was something that caught fire behind a boulder and it was burning, and he was just like,
He never reported
weird.
Smoke, though.
It doesn't have to have smoke. I mean, you've been in a chemistry lab for long enough to know.
Yeah,
right?
some things actually burn pretty clean.
Yeah.
No,
especially
they never let me in the chemistry lab.
Borax actually burns really clean.
Okay.
This makes me want to burn some borax, actually. It does.
No, but I mean, so that's one of those interesting things where as soon as you start talking about it was green, like that's a thing that burns clean, that burns really hot, that burns pretty fast, that can condense down, and that is seen in areas of agriculture where this farmer would have been. So I think there could be a combination of things. I'm not saying that it's the best theory, but I also do think it's interesting that these meteor showers do seem to coincide pretty concretely with at least the curated list that you've provided.
And I think that might be a danger because it is just a randomly curated list just for the different accounts.
But they come through. I don't know.
And let's not forget that there could be more than one explanation.
Thank you. That was where I was going to go next. We're out of theories, and personally, I don't think it's a single theory.
I don't think so.
No,
either.
I don't think so either. Yeah.
I think that as with a lot of unusual natural phenomena, I think that this is probably a bucket load of different things causing similar.
Yeah. Everything from from refraction to mushrooms. But who was it? Was it McKimmon or McKimmon? What was the guy's name?
What guy?
The professor that parked the car and Yeah, what was his name?
Pettigrew.
Pettigrew.
Yeah, there was no M in his name. It was
Yeah,
Pettigrew.
it was
Started
Pettigrew.
with a P.
Yeah. Now, so Pettigrew, I think his theory actually accounts for the vast majority of sightings, in that
I would agree.
it's something that can't be caught up with, like a rainbow, which would describe an article over, something over the horizon, like the moon or a fire or car headlights or whatever, and they're always moving away from you, of course. Okay, so yeah, I think that accounts for the vast majority of them. Some of it could be misreporting, could be outright lying, could be, perhaps the influence of drugs. There's all kinds
Yeah,
of
these
things.
stories are always, as we know, anyone who's listened to the show knows, as well as us who have done all the research, that how easily these stories can be embellished and inflated. So that's
not
a
just
very
by the
good point.
not just by the people who said they saw the thing, but by
after
all
the
the
fact.
people who retell the story.
But what's interesting
that happens a
though
lot
is
too.
some of the older ones, it seems, may have been direct accountings because they were in the newspapers and stuff.
Uh-huh.
So that gives you more of a concrete. It doesn't morph as much if it's being told true to what was in the paper. And again, that's up for interpretation.
If the paper told true to what the person actually said, because frankly, the press was not any more responsible back in those days than they are today.
Yep.
So
All right. Well, that's all I've got on the Min Min Lights.
yeah.
So as Joe would say, we should probably get to the part that everybody listens for,
Yeah.
which is our awesome administrative details.
Oh yeah.
All right.
I love these. No.
So this episode, as well as all of our episodes, are available on our website for streaming or download, as well as links for some of our research. Obviously not all of it, but some of it. That website is thinkingsidewayspodcast.com. You can stream and download the site from a number of places. So if you use iTunes, please do take the time to leave a comment and a rating. If you are streaming, there's all kinds of services, Google Play, Stitcher. There's a whole gajillion others out there. So whichever one you use, awesome. You can find us on there. And if they allow you to rate or review, please do it there.
Hell yeah.
We're on,
Good rating.
We're on social media.
And
Oh, yeah.
I just want to quickly say this is how far in advance we record. If you follow us on social media, you know we're going to be at CrimeCon 2017.
Oh, that's right. Thank you. I almost forgot.
And we're promising no masks, although I guess
No,
can't
we're not totally
keep that
promising
promise.
I might wear my Nixon mask.
Yeah, we're saying no masks. We might be wearing masks, and you won't know, and it'll be fine. But the CrimeCon is giving us some promo codes. I know the guys from Generation Y are going to be there. I know that there's going to be they've got a great panel of forensic scientists and actual people.
It's going to be cool.
It's going to be really
3
cool.
days.
Yeah, and we'll be there.
And there'll be a police SWAT team outside.
Yep, to escort us away after bad things
pretty much.
happen. But the best way to keep up to date on any promotions that we are able to offer and negotiate for you guys to make it a little more affordable for everyone, that's going to be on the social media, which is Facebook and Twitter, is how we'll be doing those.
Yeah, we're gonna put all that stuff on there. We have the Facebook page and we have the Facebook group. So the Facebook group is members only. A lot of good conversation. You can join the group if you want. We will be putting information about CrimeCon in the group. We're also going to put it up on the main page. So whichever one you follow, absolutely up to you. It's going to be there. Twitter, if you want to follow us on Twitter, we are Thinkin Sideways without the G in the middle. We also have a subreddit, which is Thinking Sideways. There's a pattern here every time. I realize it.
/ stab.
Yeah, that's totally. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is Thinking Sideways / stab die. That is the name of the subreddit.
Pretty
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look that one up. Have fun.
Now, if you want to get a hold of us, you're more than welcome to do that through the means that we've just talked about on social media, or you can send us an email. So if you've got story suggestions, you've got concerns, you've got questions, general accolades, whatever it is, you can send us an email at thinkingsidewayspodcast@gmail.com. We answer all emails. Sometimes, depending on what's going on, it takes us longer because we got 20 yesterday, so it's going to take us a while to get back to everybody. So just be aware of that, but we will respond. Now, ways that you can support the show, well, there's a number of them. We have merchandise. We've got stickers and shirts and coffee mugs and phone cases, all that stuff. We got two different stores. So we've got a Zazzle store and a Redbubble store. The links for both of those are in the right-hand panel on the website. So just go there. You'll see the links. Click on them. Go enjoy. If you would like to donate directly to the show, we do have a PayPal account. So you can donate whatever you feel comfortable doing directly through PayPal. Or if you want, we do have Patreon. Patreon is a recurring donation system. So for every episode that goes out, whatever you pledge per, that's the amount that you'll pay per episode. So remember, it's a per episode thing.
Yeah, feel free to pledge $100 an episode. Just recognize it's not a one-time contribution.
Yeah.
But
so
feel free.
We have those means out there. They are by no means a requirement. Thank you for everybody who is donating to the show financially. We do appreciate it. It helps us out with a lot of things, but not a requirement. That's really all that I've got here for this. So unless you guys have anything else, I think it's time for Lights Out.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I got nothing.
There is a world as tangible as our own, impossible to see yet unavoidable to sense. A world enveloped by a seemingly unending ocean of forests. Buried deep in that forest, tucked away neatly within a blanket of twilight, lies a quaint little cabin. And in that cabin
is a bunch of guys who's a bunch of bullshitter.
Welcome to Sleepycast, episode 20.
Yay!
20 yay! And we're here with very special guests. Wait, let me step back. I'm Stamper TV, and I'm here with very special guests, just me and nobody else.
Yeah, what's poppin'? It's your boy, it's Wooly. It's the Wooly, the whitest black guy on YouTube. What's up? Hi. And, hey, introduce yourself.
Hey, it's me, Matt, the blackest white guy ever on YouTube.
Yeah, nigga, let's go.
And we are from Super Best Friends Play. Thank
Super
you for
Best
having
Friends
Super
Play.
Best Friends Play. It's no longer Two Best Friends Play.
Yeah.
There's two others, so therefore it makes it super.
That branding was shit.
That was
shit
confusing.
branding.
Every place we ever went to, and Machinima is trying to shop us around. They go, "Hi, this is Two Best Friends Play," and there's four of us motherfuckers standing there, and we're like,
who are these guys?
We got to
on the side.
I gotta be honest, that same shit happened to me. I was like, what, Two Best Friends Play? I was like, alright, so, and you guys
are
the rest.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Super Best Friends Play.
Wait, you said you're the whitest black guy?
Can you not tell from my voice?
You look super black. Yeah, dude.
I'm fucking Canadian, man. That shit doesn't
He
fly.
likes Muse.
I listen. I listen to Muse, man. Exactly.
Sweet, dude. I'm Oni. My voice is gone. Followed next to me is a Asian guy.
Yeah. Hello. It's me. It's a rice pirate. Hello. I am the whitest Chinese guy. We're all just turning the racial stereotypes upside down in this bitch.
Yeah.
And we're eating bowls of noodles.
Actually, between Matt here and Stamper, I feel like you guys are the two blackest white guys I know.
He's pretty black. He's blacker than I thought.
Yeah. Have you seen his dick? It's like fucking Wesley Snipes' lips.
What am I then?
It looks like a bad color job.
You're like the most American Irish guy.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
That kind of works a little bit.
Yeah, that's
all
fair.
right.
I can also take most Asian black guy as well. Like,
Are you part Asian?
No, but like,
just your anime.
Yeah, just
and-
fucking weeb like level, like Japanese and shit.
Like
Just,
Dragon Balls.
It's bad. It's really bad.
Now here's the thing: are you self-diagnosed weeb, or do you just accept it when people drop that on you?
I'm like what you call a
Like he's a
I'm a
self-diagnosed.
Cadbury cream egg.
Okay.
Right? So it's like black on the outside,
Yes.
white on the inside,
Yes.
and inside of that, it's fucking yellow.
Do you know what's amazing? That is a very Asian way to reference yourself.
Is it?
Well, in Chinese, like a lot of insults and whatnot have an egg in it. Like,
Oh, yeah,
it's like a bad egg. Or
Eggplant. Yeah.
And so what's interesting is that I always actually reference myself as an egg because I'm white on the outside and yellow on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just...
No, I need that chocolate layer on the
very
outside.
Asian, and then with the extra chocolate,
It's
of course.
all for appearance, the chocolate layer.
Yeah.
It's just there for show.
And
Really.
also, it's a really shitty candy.
I like
Well,
them.
thank you. Thank you. It's
Whatever.
shit.
You like the gray taste of Hershey.
I'm not really down with Hershey's.
He's right though.
I'm actually
Hershey's gray.
It's funny because I use Cadbury cream eggs as my like barometer or my metaphor for family. So it's like because I had them when I was a kid, I have this like nostalgia. Like my taste buds really want a Cadbury cream egg.
Yeah.
But when it comes around, when April comes around, I actually get one. I take one bite of it and I get sick. Like it's just way too sweet for me.
Yeah.
It's
Dude,
just
I'm
too
telling
sweet.
you, it's like a fairy jerking
But
off
that's
in your
exactly
mouth.
what it's like with my family. Like if I'm away from my family for a long time, I miss them. I want to see them so bad. But as soon as I spend one day with them, I'm like,
Man.
yeah, you know what? I think I'm good for another year. I'll come back next year.
I could eat 5 in a row. I swear.
Dude, I need it. I used to buy one every fucking day.
He is so solid.
I
that
thought they
if
only
I go-
came out in fucking Easter.
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
no, because they're like, why would we want to get our profits just in one margin?
Yeah.
Oh, Halloween, Cadbury Scream Eggs.
Are they the
that's
exact
right.
same thing?
It's the exact same thing.
It's just
the
like
packaging
green
is
in the middle, yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
Willie is so solid with this where if I'll try to insult him and be like, oh, you're enjoying your little chocolate cups of sperm. Good job. And Willie goes, I will drink it all.
Thank you.
I love it.
Straight from the source, motherfucker.
Now let me ask you: if do you like the cream filling?
That's all I like.
Yeah.
Okay, so if let's just say the only way you could ever take that cream, the only way you could ever taste that cream was from a big chocolate wiener. Okay, it's not not attached to a. You know what? It is.
You shouldn't
it's attached.
even bother,
It's
'cause
attached
the
to
answer
a
will be
person.
yes.
Already deep throating. Like straight into my stomach.
You didn't flinch.
Just straight into the.
You thought about it.
Chocolate wiener. Who cares?
I
Made of
went-
chocolate.
When they had those Cadbury cream egg McFlurries,
Oh, you
at
mean like the
McDonald's,
wiener? Wait, the wiener's chocolate
Yeah.
too?
Yo.
So you can bite the wiener and eat the chocolate too?
Yeah, but then the guy will get really sad because his wiener's gone.
Yeah, don't give people ideas.
Like his wiener just crumbles and melts?
Yeah, and he walks away sad.
They had Cadbury cream egg McFlurries at McDonald's, and I went in there and I was like, "Yo, fuck the chocolate.
Yeah.
Double down on the cream.
Yes.
Give me that shit." And they're like, "Are you sure?"
He pitched a tent like in the McDonald's. It just slept.
I am I think I'm at risk for diabetes just because of that. Like, I'm about to lose a toe. I don't fucking care. So you can call it nasty. Give me that cream egg dick.
I've never seen someone so solid with that.
Dude, I don't give a
See, that's all different perspective. I would take it in a McFlurry or a Blizzard. I'd take that.
If you lost your toe, you can just put a cream egg on it.
Yo, okay,
We
so
can recreate him.
Yeah. We can make it better. We have the cream eggs.
Yeah.
Cream egg technology.
So this is kind of weird, but like, I don't want to just call you by your internet like names. So,
Oh
like,
yeah,
what-
you had a very good point
What
earlier.
are your like first names? Because that's it's,
I only
if don't
just
wanna
learned. I only just learned them all.
internet slang you. That's weird. It's fucking.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Like,
Unless you prefer it. I
to
don't.
step back a couple of steps, I met you guys before I even knew who you were.
Right.
And before I even knew, again, like your first names or any of that. So I met you as human beings first, then I knew what you did, and I still don't know your first names. I say, hey, how's
It's
it
them
going?
best friends,
For
motherfuckers. Those
quite a
Canadian
while,
assholes.
all I
yeah.
called you was Skeet Fighter. Because that's all I knew. That's all I knew.
And truthfully, I think that's totally fine because you're still making human connections. And it's not just us. I feel like at conventions, most people probably do that.
Yeah.
And then you go home and people are trying to friend you on Facebook and it's like, who the fuck is Greg Johnson? And it's like, you see a picture of
It's
like,
like,
oh!
dude, you were blowing him last night for like an
and
hour.
I had cream eggs in my cheeks.
10 minutes ago, they're like, "Oh yeah, Leviosa is coming," and I'm like, "Ooh, wait,
That's his name now.
That's me.
Even boiled that. But you know what? Tom did that to me too. I was saying that on that one panel.
Yeah.
That, like when he introduced me to people, he's like, "This is the ... guy." He didn't even use my fucking name.
He probably didn't know your name.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
That doesn't mean it's disrespectful.
Ski fighter, the Leviosa. Exactly.
But it's
But that's
like-
it. You get
they
boiled
remember
down to
you.
one fucking thing, man. You know?
And like us, we just like use like because we're Let's Players or whatever, the scum of the universe. That a guy that's not here, Pat, and then people go, wait, I thought Matt, you're Pat, but your voice is because you don't. So
Right.
I've been Pat for a while. He's been Chewy.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
dude,
fuckface.
yeah.
Tell you tell
No,
this.
just-
We're at MagFest.
The dude comes up and he's like, I know you guys, right? And it's like, it's Matt and I'm Wooly. And it's like, yeah, you're Chewy and Pat? right? And it's just like, yeah, that's Chewie and Pat. It's it's actually Chewie and Fuckface in the morning.
Yeah.
Tune in, you know, like I'm Chewie, he's Fuckface.
Though I will say, if you wear that hat, that hat with the P on it, it does. I mean, I think just natural association. Natural association, they might do that. I just know you by your.
This is just for this weekend because I usually rep the Yankees, right? And we're in Philadelphia right now. And then I got a fan in all caps just go, listen, you need to listen.
You think it's funny?
You think it's funny?
It's not
this
a game.
Is not a fucking
This is
game.
not a fucking game.
Do not wear a Yankees cap. Get a Phillies. Get anything. You will live if you do this
I
weekend.
thought you were just trying to pull that John Cena bullshit where you try to be a face, where you're always wearing like the local jersey, like a fucking jerk off. Yeah, exactly.
No, I would never do
I
that.
was pulling the Johnny Utah.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
I would never do that. Wink, wink.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. Because when we had our panels or whatever this weekend, I just kind of was like, "Hey, everyone,
what's up?"
Pointing to your hat. What's up, Billy?
Exactly.
So we still haven't answered the question.
We still haven't answered.
Step back. My real name is William Andrew Stamper.
Okay.
And everyone calls me Stamper. And to go back, this happened a long time ago. When I was about 18, we used to hang out with a bunch of people, and another guy, everyone used to call me Will. And we had another friend that we hung out with all the time, and he was Filipino. His name was Will, too. So nobody got confused. We called him Willipino.
Solid.
But there was still confusion, so they just started calling me Stamper. And then everyone started calling me Stamper, and there was no Will anymore. So it was Stamper and Willipino, and nobody was Will anymore.
No one was Will, yeah.
I just say it'd be stupid to call you or Will ever, because Stamper's a cool nickname anyway.
Yeah, it is.
Ex-girlfriends and my mom calls me Will.
Sure.
Everyone calls me
More
Stamper.
intimate, right?
But it's weird, because people try to come up and be intimate and say, "Hey, Will, how's it going?"
Oh, yeah, I hear that, too.
And I don't hear it
I don't hear it either.
And I look like a dick now, because it's like I don't have time for people, but I don't
literally,
hear
when
my
I walk
first
next to
name
you,
anymore.
when we're walking down the hall and I hear the word, when someone's like, "Hey, Will," it literally, it does not even occur to me that someone's talking about you.
Will, William, any of that. It's just, it's gone. It was gone 10 years ago. So don't do that.
I thought Stamper was just like your street, you know, like, yo, that he stamps shit, you know, don't fucking.
He works in the mail room.
Well, that's where the last name comes from. I mean, everyone's got like cool origins for their last names. It's like, oh, you know, I'm O'Neill. Like Stamper's literal. You go back and it's like, oh yeah, this was a job. They used to stamp coins and plates, and I was like, okay.
My name is Irash McFinglas. I was born in Grassy Rock. That's it. No, it's Chris O'Neill.
All right. So like when you were a kid, could people not say the L or something? They just kind of went O'Neill, like you got half the name out.
Well, you mean for my username?
Yeah.
That was my doing. I was just a loser who was like, "Yeah, I want a shorter version of O'Neill." I was like, O'Neill. 2 syllables.
I know. It's still the same amount of syllables.
You saved so much time.
I was 15. I was a loser. I still am a loser. But yeah, that's the only story behind that. And I put an NG on it because I'm an idiot.
People still call you Wonnie.
People call me One-AG.
I made that birthday video for you or whatever, where I was like all the different pronunciations of your name.
Yeah,
like Oni-G sounds way more street. Like I can't imagine.
Some people actually pronounce it
with a little dash in between.
Yeah,
so it's like,
some people have said that.
So it's like that old Hotmail address that you
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
get
yeah,
rid
yeah,
of.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
gotta
yeah.
keep using it. Yeah, all right.
Some people call me One-A. It's weird. I don't mind it though.
He reps Cadbury cream eggs, but I will defend Hotmail to my death. Like
Okay, hold on.
Never been.
Wait. I want to hear
topped.
how.
Hotmail.
No. Give me the top. I want to hear the top.
We didn't even finish names yet.
Okay,
dude.
we'll get back to that. We're gonna get back to that.
Hold that.
Okay,
Hold that.
Mick Lauer, Rice Pirate. So Mick, my biological father was Irish, but I never met him. And then Lauer is actually the second last name I had.
To this day, you've never met your pops.
I always say I never met him. I actually did meet him once. It's just easier to say I never met him. You know what I mean?
Fair
it's
enough.
like saying like, oh, where'd you grow up? If you lived in a place for like most of your life, you don't necessarily need to throw in that other place, because especially if you don't live there for like a week.
It's all bad memories.
It's not bad. No, I met.
The place touched
I
my
probably
wiener.
already told the story. No. But like, I met him once for my 7th birthday. Yeah, and he came by and he already had a new wife and a new kid, and we went to like Seattle Center or some some shit, and he gave me Trivial Pursuit even though I couldn't read, so I ended up just like chewing on the pieces. I couldn't.
Now that's
like,
a father.
How the fuck was I supposed to know who the winning, like the pitcher with the greatest, fucking the ERA in 1932?
He like, Dad, could you like Mousetrap? That would have been
I was
fine.
still fucking
Mousetrap would have been fucking great,
Yeah.
dude. Right? Dude, your
Mousetrap would have been perfect.
Domino Rally.
Yeah, anything like that would have been Chutes and Ladders even. I
I
would have
always
dealt with.
wanted Mousetrap when I was a kid, but I never got
That
it.
commercial was the fucking
Yeah,
sickest.
it was. It was.
That shit was. Oh my god.
It was. I actually enjoyed watching that.
Yeah.
Commercial.
Am I gonna
part
open up the
cartoon.
box and get a cartoon character jumping
That's
out
right.
of the box? Man?
Yes, part cartoon, part commercial. All what do you call it? The Roy Edmondson machine.
Oh, the Rube Goldberg.
Rube Goldberg. Yeah.
What the hell are you guys talking about, Nick?
It's
your
when you
dad. No, I know Mousetrap. Your dad came by with a brand new family and gave you a shitty board game, and you haven't seen him since. And you guys are talking about Mousetrap commercial.
So, anyways,
that
my
is the
name.
most
So my name's
depressing story ever.
Lauer, which is my ex stepfather's name. He's dead, and he raised me, but that was his last name. And I think Lauer, Shad was trying to tell me that it's like German for like prowling or something. But really,
hiding in the bushes. You know
I just call myself Mick. It's just so much
Prowler.
easier because technically I consider myself a Wang. This is the problem. Is like my name is Mick, right?
Yeah.
So it sounds like Dick, and when you're a kid, Mick, right? And my last name used to be Cooper, so it was Dick Pooper for a long time. but then it was Mick Lauer, and I moved to Taiwan when that happened. No, it's not Dick Power. It's quite the opposite.
Dick Flower.
Lauer in Chinese is penis, but that's not how you do it. You do the last name first. So you'd say like Lei Mi Ke. That's what it was. But they all called me Hey Lauer, which is like Hey Dick. And my first name, Lao Wai, is like a white, or it's like foreigner, like the old foreigner.
I mentioned Lao Wai because we worked a lot on Deus Ex Human Revolution, where you'd walk around and everyone goes, "Hey, Lao Wai."
Yeah, exactly.
So-
but Lao just means old. So like Lao Shi is teacher, and then Lao Wai is old outsider, and then Lao Er is kind of like your second cousin kind of thing, and it's your dick.
Yeah.
So they'd all be like, hey, Lao Er. But my first name, Mi Ke, is like rice, gram, dick. Yeah, so no matter, I was kind of fucked all the way around. But then after my mom got divorced the second time, I consider myself, my mom's last name is Wang. My family name, my Chinese family name is Wang, which is also Wang. So I just could never fucking like escape this whole fucking dick.
Congratulations on the Shadow Warrior games. You're doing a bang up job on those.
Yeah, you're welcome.
But like with your dad like dropping in and then piecing out immediately, at least you kind of don't have like the attachment type.
Not at all.
Because my dad like gave me a couple years of being like solid dad, and then he just fucking went, oh no, I'm out.
Yeah, that's
I'm out,
weird.
and then just got the new family
That's
and shit.
weird.
So I just got the straight up like dropped off in the middle of the mall type shit. I'm gone type of story.
He
and
just
I'm
deleted you from his hard drive, and that was
like from his phone in front of my face, just held his phone up and like find my contact Wooly, just delete.
Right click and recycling bin.
Empty that shit.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I just imagine like your profile dies like a Final Fantasy character.
Well, no, that's
like it does like a Final Fantasy boss, like the lines start dissipating and waving. Like the lightning strikes twice, and then your character just like fades off the phone.
So I don't know if that's worse or better to not have.
That sounds worse to me. To be honest, because I don't. No, because I don't remember. I remember that day, but it doesn't affect me. It was a series of events.
It's like funny and grim at the same time.
But that's how I love it though.
But
That's the best.
It's like grummy. It's grummy.
Yeah, and I think like for certain people, like I don't know how you feel about it, but for me, because it was only that day, and
that's probably what happened to a lot of people. Truthfully,
no, it could, but like for me, like some people, I think try to use it as an excuse for some shit. But for me, it's like someone will.
yeah.
Well, no, a lot of people like to use that shit, but honestly, like that was just a day, and I spent the rest of my life being raised by an awesome grandmother.
I heard that.
Yeah, and so like that's really all I remember.
Okay.
If you need a crutch, though, go for it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, in my case, it's a bit different because I'm named for the fucker. So like my name Wooly is actually Wooly Jr. because his name is Wooly too.
Wow.
So like I gotta hold on to that.
Wow, yo,
that shit's real.
fucked up.
That shit's real, right?
See, but now you're the real Wooly, though.
Yeah, well now when you Google it,
Guess what?
Who the fuck is
that son of a bitch is gonna
Bingo.
die.
Right?
He's gonna fucking die. Guess what? Last standing surviving Wooly, right here in the ring.
Yeah, Wooly and
Bitch.
Oldie.
That's right.
So that's the thing. It's like after having that name, because people think Wooly's a nickname, and people think it's like, oh yeah, that's like short for like Woolsworth, or like you just make shit up because it doesn't sound real.
Right.
But it's just like, no, not only is it real, but it was inflicted on another man who decided I need to share this suffering with other people, include my son.
Yeah.
And so he just straight up was like, no, Wooly Jr.
That's like a boy named Sue shit.
when you first told me that, oh, my dad's actually named Wooly and I'm Wooly Jr., I'm like, so do you have to, like, fight your dad for, like, the name? Or is it past it? Are you a Highlander? Like, I don't
You absorb the power of the Wooly.
That's it, you know. And I mean, like, and as far as like the whole like attachment shit goes, it's like, my dad's like Jamaican, and like there's a thing that happens with Jamaica where it's just like you can't stop finding new places to drop your seed and like just fucking move on.
Right.
So like I have siblings I never met and all that kind of thing.
That is a broad generalization, my friend. You can't just say that.
No, but I can't just say that. You're right. But it just happens that.
Nah, you can say that.
My dad and his brother and whatnot, like it's like 7, 8 kids, all different mothers type of situation going on. So, and just being real. This is my life.
So listen,
this is who I am.
This isn't a comparison, and we should move on. But I very rarely mention this, but there was kind of a joke because Mick is actually a Irish slur, right? And so like on my Xbox profile, I can't actually write my first name.
That's really stupid. That's really stupid.
Yeah, but you know that, right? Have you ever seen that?
No.
Oh, okay. Anyways,
I didn't know Mick would be a thing that would be banned on.
Yes. So Mick is banned. So I had to But so the joke was that they were like, hey, where did you ever get this name Mick? You know, because like you never really hung out with your dad or whatnot. And so the joke because my mom's Chinese, so the joke that I always told was like. I was born, and then as he was out the door, she's like, wait, what am I supposed to do with this kid? What is his name? And he's like, oh, just keep the stupid Mick. Fuck. And then that's how I got the name. But when I was in London, none of my teachers called me Mick. They all called me Michael.
Really?
And I was like, that's not my name. I swear on my passport, my birth certificate. Yeah, exactly. But they did not believe it. They were like, that's not an actual name. Yeah.
That
was
I've
annoying.
never heard someone that has lore for their name. Like you can write Tolkien can write like a whole book about your name. It's awesome.
Yeah. Son of Wooly, son of Wooly.
We have like a confusing thing where our channel is actually Switcher with with a 1.
Good job on that, by the way.
Yeah.
Because I had an original channel which was just called Switcher, like spelled like it's said, and that was all fine. But because of Disney, I got that too many copyright strikes, so I had to come up with something that was similar, but whatever. But Switcher was just a dumb internet nickname. I don't use it anymore, but you know the channel's named that. But mine it's a lot less like dramatic and epic than yours. But me and my friend are running to catch a subway to get to high school, and he gets on first, and the doors close, and my friend's going, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be late for school. My classes, you know. And he gets to school, and I get the next subway. I get there, I get out, I see a bus, I get on it, I get to school before my friend who walked.
Yeah.
And then he sees me there pulling, I'm like trying to all be casual.
Yeah.
Pulling my stuff out of my locker. Oh, hey, what's up? And he goes, what? You're like the Switcher. And I hate that guy. Still. I stopped being friends with him. But I was like, that's a good name.
Right in that moment.
That's a good
Right
name.
in that moment.
It was like, when I create Let's Playing, in 10 years,
you lifted up your cell phone and you deleted his contact, and he died like a Final Fantasy boss, lightning, and then it just like faded with the lines.
That is such
You
a
and your
solid...
Final Fantasy lines,
Yeah, you're
man.
obsessed with it.
But that's a solid visual. And many people know.
It's
exactly
a nice
what that
slow
is.
death. It's like one of those very satisfying, like, we're gonna watch this thing die for a bit.
You ever beat like Ruby Weapon in Final Fantasy VII?
Did you ever beat the Emerald Weapon?
Yeah, it goes like. And you're like, whoa!
It's like flossing
so
something
good.
heavy out of your teeth.
Yeah.
You just like finally pull it out.
Oh, it's so good.
Did you say you couldn't get Mick on Xbox?
Yeah, that's real bullshit.
Dude, I was banned from Xbox because my name was Pee-Pee Storm.
That's your fault.
No, they're really bad. And
It's not my fault, Pee-Pee Storm.
Pee-pee's a bad word.
You know what? They were mad at me because I was rocking them.
If you have an iPhone,
And they reported me, and they didn't want to get beat by anyone named Pee-Pee Storm or Juicy Kisses. Juicy Kisses was my second
great
name.
though.
Wait, juicy, like spelled like juice.
It was just Juicy Kisses.
Like
that's the one that they didn't
that's the
ban
only
me.
thing I would think they would
You got
ban
banned for being juicy too?
No.
Okay, that's good.
I had to go from that, but they still didn't like that one after that. But Pee-Pee Storm was totally fine. Pee-Pee is fine.
I was just kidding. I agree.
Pee-Pee Storm.
Pee-Pee Storm is online.
I came down.
no.
the autocorrect for the word Mick is generally Muck. I get that from my dad and my mom.
Oh, yeah, that happened on my cell phone.
Yeah, oh yeah, they'll write me. They'll be like, "Hey, Muck." I'm like, "Oh
But then,
God."
like,
You
what
still
does-
have the hotel
God, no.
Yeah.
How does half of Australia even go on Xbox Live then? Because I just assume everyone in Australia is named Mick. That's just a very Australian name.
There's
to me
people
as
called
well.
Dick and shit.
But I thought in Australia it was. Oh, is it like a? I always thought it was a nickname though.
Yeah, but
No,
who cares?
but no,
there has to be a few people called Dick.
Or they just called themselves that. See, I always thought your last name was Muscles.
No. Well, that's not actually my last name.
Okay.
The human tongue has not found a way to pronounce my last name yet.
Okay.
Because it's Polish, but Mick Muscles.
Okay,
It's
Mick
just-
Muscles.
It's just my wrestling persona name.
No, his actual name. He's a fucking beat cop. He's Kowalski, basically.
Yeah.
No, straight up.
But that's but again,
A beat cop.
Kowalski.
Because he's a loose cannon, Kowalski, you're off the fucking case.
Turn in your badge in peace.
That's for everyone else's benefit. It's actually Kovaleski, and that's spelled the opposite of how it's said or even looked at or heard.
Kovaleski.
Yeah.
So I want to know how many people.
Everyone.
Okay. Yeah. Got it.
No one gets it right.
Yep.
If some,
I'm just saying like that mental dyslexia. Like you just like you're assuming what you're
see
looking
the-
at is a thing.
Yeah.
It ain't that thing.
If I ever go to a store and order anything, if anyone says my name right, I'm like, I'm probably gonna marry this person because this is a connection that I very
Dude,
my fiance cannot say my last name correctly.
Dude, even if your name is spelled out in plain text, everyone, for the most part, everyone calls me Stanford, like the college.
Really?
I say it over the phone. It's in plain text, and they
Oh,
will
that
still
makes
call me
sense,
Stanford.
though. I can see
That's
that.
why every time you're around me, I say Stamper, like a mail stamp.
Yeah.
And I do this with my hand.
Yeah.
Because
Stamper's
it like
not a common name
bangs
at
it
all.
into their mind.
I got the last name Madden, so hey, you play football? Yeah, I
Oh,
play
funny.
football. I
Wooly
Madden? Madden.
You got an Xbox?
That's a great name, though.
It's fucking weird, but thank
Each
you.
part individually is not much, but when you put it together,
that's right.
When you form up like Voltron,
No,
it comes
or
together.
I would say more like a bomb. Like you take some of this calcium nitrate or whatever. Like these chemicals on their own, they're kind of they can do their thing. You put them together. Oh shit! Don't shake it too hard.
I don't know what you're talking about. Woolly Madden sounds like a candy bar. I want to eat, my friend.
That's
Woolly
true.
Madden.
It also sounds close to a woolly mammoth.
Oh yeah.
Which is the other it's like I've heard it all.
It also sounds
I've
like
heard it all.
It sounds like a bar that has like arcade games too, like Dave and Buster's. Like, hey, let's go to Woolly Madden.
No, like
Also,
Steve Madden.
you would make an amazing woolly mammoth.
Are these dreads real or are they part of your hat?
They're real.
Whoa.
They're totally.
Because they kind of look like wool.
No, at this point it's just a character accessory, but
They're cool.
no, it's for real.
Are they part of your
It
hat?
looks like it. I want to make sure.
Some people do that. Some people
Do they really?
You can go. There's a flea market that we did a video
In
for.
comedy movies, people do. They pull it off. They have the,
with the red
Jewish curls, and they just.
We just came from a convention, dude. There's people wearing all kinds of shit.
With
Yeah,
the big
it's true.
spliff hanging from it and shit.
I apologize for his behavior. I am so sorry, my
being
friend.
a racist.
I want to know, Matt,
Yes.
how much hair you got?
Not much. About the same as you.
Okay. No. Hold
Oh,
on.
dude, we have the
we're
same
all in the
hairline.
same. No,
That's
no.
great.
We're
You're in there
all
too, dude. Look.
We are all in the same club. Now, I'm curious. Have you ever considered wearing a wig? Honestly, has
Never.
it ever crossed your mind?
Never.
What's the
What
number
the
one
hell
reason?
are you talking
Shut up. What's the number one reason?
Because I'm not a clown.
I'd be worried that someone would run up and grab it, and pull it off, and everyone start taking pictures of
Like,
me.
I've
You
seen
mean like
enough
a wig or a toupee? Or
Like a
what?
hairpiece.
Yes.
Yeah, like, I don't
I've
know.
seen enough Seinfeld. Like, I don't want
Yeah.
to be in that like comedy situation of like, oh
A gusty breeze blows it off.
right?
Yeah.
Never,
And it makes that whoop sound like whoop.
And for
it
some
flies
reason,
up.
it's taped in the back, so it just
Oh yeah,
flops up.
somehow
like,
it like fly, like someone scalped you, but
Yeah.
like not all the
and
way.
What's really garbage is that I earned it because like my dad losing his hair or whatever, and I just had like a full luxurious head of hair and whatever, and I was just like everyone like just fucking look at me, look how cool I am. My dad's like, you're gonna lose it when you get into your 30s. I'm like, shut up, Dad. And then I'm like, fuck. And I'm like,
Dude.
oh god.
my dad still has a beautiful head of hair.
That's bullshit.
I'm fucking up here.
It skips a generation. My mom's fucking side of the family are all bald as shit. I'm getting there.
So you're fucked.
I could do what Mick said and just paint my head red so that when the toupee flies up, it looks like I've been scalped.
Tattoo a brain.
Yeah, tattoo a brain.
Tattoo a brain on your bald
So
head.
no one can laugh.
No, but like Matt got in early though. Like he was smart. Like where he wore the toque so often with like a Punisher skull on it,
Yeah.
that it just became part of his character.
So then when
Of course.
everyone draws fan art, I'm like,
Yes.
I'm always
It's
safe.
always there. You
course.
know, like
Gosh.
it's shit's coverage. You know what you're doing.
The first time I met you, you did have that. That's right.
I have a bunch of skull caps too. We were comparing those on Twitter for a long time.
God.
Yeah.
So
And now you're like a dad. You've kind of settled down.
Yeah, yes,
With the
I
ball
got a
cap.
beanie,
I wore only ball caps. No, I did actually wear a beanie for a day. But
So this is the bullshit thing about you, right? Okay, is that on Twitter I'm like, hey, yeah, we do our avatars look the same, and look, there's this kind of photo of you I saw, and we kind of look similar. We have these kind of similar
we have the same glasses and the beard and the hat.
And I'm like, oh, you have a cat?
Yeah.
And I have a cat too. Oh my god, we're almost pretty much the exact same person in every way.
Yeah.
And then I see you walking by with your muscle shirts and shit, and I'm like, oh, he's 2 feet taller than me. Oh, great. So another kick in the balls. Thanks God.
That's not true at all. That's
Thanks,
God.
Nick.
Tweeting out
No. I recently saw a picture of my face on Twitter. It literally looked like a Photoshop of some, like, you know those tiny head things of like Mitt Romney.
Yeah.
And I'll show you the picture later. I'll put it on fucking.
Did you put it there?
No, I will link it. I will link it in the actual description. Someone took a picture during our signing.
Yeah.
My head looks like a huge Mitt Romney head with a tiny little fucking like squished Photoshop face in the middle. I'm not fucking kidding. I know
That's how
big-
critical you are about the way you look.
Is that
my
where you're
friend.
like that?
No, it was when I was like, ooh, and it was like my tiny little face here. And whatever. I grew up with that.
Everyone listening doesn't know what the fuck's
Dude,
going
when
on.
I was a kid, it looked like if you took like a big pillow and you put your finger right in the epicenter of that thing and pushed it in, that's exactly what my face looked like.
You know who gives a shit? You, dude. Nobody else cares.
I can't.
Fine, shut up. Wait, are we still on our names?
I get, and no, but before you feel bad about the whole like hair racism thing,
I
or
didn't
whatever.
feel bad.
Well, no, because you're like, oh, sorry for being racist. It's like we thought about making a product where we got like a reboot pin hat with purple dreads hanging out of it as a thing we sell.
See,
to
that'd be
people.
cool. I'd buy
So
People would buy that.
exactly.
People would
Did
buy
you
that.
really think that he would lift his hat off and dreads would just come with it?
How the fuck should I
Look
know?
at the texture of it. That would be.
It's
phenomenal.
purple.
I don't know. Don't people make hats of real dreads?
No, I was gonna say that at we did a video at a flea market, and they would sell just hats with dreads going on.
Yeah.
And
See?
we took a video of it, and we look, Wooly has a shop. The video never went online. But the Wooly has a shop set up to have people look like him because Wooly loves character creation.
Dude,
There you go.
So,
Shut up.
Can I touch it?
Yeah.
Can I touch it?
No, you gotta.
We entered the room.
It feels good.
We
What?
come in here. He's
All
relaxing
white
on the
people asking.
bed.
It's okay. Go ahead.
Why would he be relaxing in the privacy
Listen,
in his
Snapper,
socks?
you want to know the
with
truth?
a hat.
You want to
with
know
a
the
wig on?
truth? It all comes down to this. There's no black people in Ireland. It's like 2 of them.
Wait, I've heard.
There's 2 black people in Ireland.
Wait, what about the
Jerome
black?
and James.
What about the black Irish?
What about him?
that's a thing.
That's like a whole thing.
That's
The
a
Black
thing.
Irish.
You got like a whole clan of black
What do you
Irish.
get reference as?
I'm a black Scot.
Yeah.
Madden is a Scottish name.
Oh yeah, it
it's
is.
true.
Yeah.
No, but I swear, there's not much black people, especially in my town. I see like one every year.
Dude, he's.
We don't have any castles.
Jokes
I
aside,
understand.
Are
he's
you
only
saying they're invisible?
Yeah.
Oh, see, that's a smart. Oh, fuck. If I had the Continue Show guys here, they do the. Never mind. Fuck
If
you.
the camera was on, if there's a camera running right now, you'd die like an FF.
I would.
Good.
I
Just
would.
fucking.
I think like a final, like there's lightning
bomb
behind
deserves
me.
lightning and death.
9999 would bounce right below my face, and I disappear.
We all get XP. You're fucking done.
In Punisher comics and in one of the movies, there's this black Irish character named McGinty who has
McGinty,
dreads,
yeah.
and lots of our fans go, "Hey, look! I found a picture of Willie in this comic. he's got dreads or whatever." And McGinty is portrayed as such, and these comics are written by an Irish writer. And he goes, "Okay, so McGinty's really tough and he's mean, but he doesn't have enough money to cut off this guy's limbs and send them via UPS to intimidate the other gangs.
That's amazing.
He has no money, and
That's
he's on the
amazing.
phone, and he's like, "Fucker, I fucking can't do this shit. I don't have enough." And he's trying to send the things. He's like, "I don't have enough money." And he's just like the poorest gangster ever, and everyone's like always underestimating him.
Yeah.
Like you don't have enough money to intimidate us with your UPS sending us pieces of a man.
That is such a great story thing,
Yeah,
though.
that's cool.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna really quick tangent. Does anyone here know what Scud is?
Scud?
Scud, the disposable assassin. by
Yes,
Fireman Press.
PlayStation 1 game in the comic.
Well, yeah, the comic mainly is what I know, or Fireman Press or whatever it was.
Right.
But the storyline behind that, just in 1 second, was that there's a disposable, out of vending machines, you get disposable assassin robots, and this one robot is supposed to destroy this one target, and it's supposed to self-destruct afterwards, but it finds out because it's antlers in its back, and it sees it in a mirror, so it doesn't. Anyways, instead of killing its target, it blows off all of its limbs, and then for a good chunk of the story, its job is to become a freelance mercenary and to pay the hospital bills to keep his target alive. Which is a great fucking idea because he will self-destruct if his target dies, so he has to like go and do all these odd jobs. But anyways, that was just the beginning of it. There's like Zombie Ben Franklin and everything's easily one of my favorite fucking comics ever.
That sounds strong.
What was fun? It's called Scud the Disposable Assassin, and they had like Scud Light, and they had like all these other things.
He's like a yellow
He's
robot.
a yellow robot. He's the Heartbreaker series.
Wait, I've heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a game that like really bombed, and they tried to do some other stuff with it. And
they tried to push him.
Yeah, and he like I don't know. It was very meta, and like it had a whole bunch of I don't know. It was really fucking cool. You find out spoilers that his first target is one of the.
That's a good target.
And then that's the government.
Can somebody define meta? I'm so tired of hearing that word.
Really?
It's self-referential.
Okay.
Like Deadpool is meta.
He talks to the reader.
He talks to the viewer. He knows he's in a comic.
Whoa.
It's like a movie that knows it's a movie.
Self-aware.
Like a horror movie that is clearly aware that it's a horror movie.
I hear everyone using that, and it never makes sense.
Well, it's probably like triggered. People are probably using it wrong. They're just fucking throwing it all over the fucking
So
place.
if you're in the kitchen in the morning and you're like, Mick goes in the kitchen and makes himself some scrambled eggs. Wow, these taste like shit.
I don't know. Is that meta? That might be meta. Like you talking to you.
I don't know, man. You just told me it was something.
That's
Only
schizophrenic.
if
or
people
something.
are in your kitchen watching you make that,
Right.
and they expect that to be what you're doing, then yes, it's meta.
If you're playing Metal Gear and they say, put your controller down and let it rumble,
Right.
that's meta because
Right.
it's referencing that it's a product.
right.
Where does the actual word meta come from?
I don't know.
Meta Knight, duh.
Is that true?
No.
Sharp as a whip, this one.
And I leave this conversation knowing nothing more than I did when I stepped into
Literally
it.
explained it as best as
Yeah,
we
you
can.
big dummy. It just means referencing.
Oh, so basically I could just use it any way I want to. All right, that door is fucking meta.
Every single no. It's like last night when you grabbed your wiener and you started jacking off. You looked at it and you were like, "I'm jacking off," and you screamed really loud, and everyone in the house heard you. That was meta.
How?
I'm just kidding. That's not meta. That's just gay.
There's the definition more.
I understand now, guys. Thanks.
I didn't know where that was going, but I really liked it.
I didn't know where it was going either.
The more
It was
you
going
know,
over
the
here.
more you
There you
know.
go.
There you go.
Thanks, man.
Got
Meta.
it.
Stay meta, bro.
All right. So now that we know each other's names,
It's only took an hour.
not even.
Next, Volume 2.
Yeah, volume 2. Wait, what were all your names again? Let's go back.
I didn't actually say my name.
Thanks, man.
Piss, dick, shit,
Ass butt.
ass butt.
You
dad.
brought up, hold on. You brought up something earlier. You said something like you said we're Let's Players and we're the scum of the earth and
yeah.
there's a special place in hell.
I wanted to say something.
and
I
we suck
said
each other's
that didn't go
dicks.
too
I don't know
far
why you
there.
said all of
Listen.
that, but I'm curious.
I think Let's Players are good if they're funny, and you guys are obviously funny.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, very nice.
You think?
Yeah, no, I know, because I'm excited talking to you.
You know what's funny? What's actually funny is that I don't watch any of your Let's Play shit. What I do watch is all the outside shit you do, like the video stuff you do,
the
or
live
like
action stuff.
even the box opening shit that you guys do. I don't know. For me, like I don't really give a shit about Let's Play, but I love to see the personalities behind the people that do that.
That's what I was talking about earlier. It was like, I don't really follow your work either, and you could probably say the same for me, but I'm happy to see you and go out to a bar and we just hang out and talk.
So I clicked on.
I know you more like that than with
That's just,
work.
that's the human thing.
That's right. You're a skeet fighter.
I was listening.
Yeah, Mr. Skeet Fighter, that's true.
We just hang out, let's go skeet, man.
I was listening to the show not long ago,
Here we
and
go.
I heard what basically was what amounted to you being like, look, man, you don't have to fucking unsubscribe if nothing is showing up in your feed.
Thank you,
Just
man.
fucking wait, and a cartoon will happen, right? And I remember you were losing it like that, and I was like, oh god damn, if you are an animator that puts this hard work into this one thing, and it shows up once every couple months, if not like a few times a year,
Yeah.
that's fucking rough,
Well-
right? Whereas the Let's Play people are like, hey yo, we just played Dark Souls, that's like 80 parts, what up?
Yeah, but you guys also
You
do
know?
the live action shit, and you guys do some of like the dubbing stuff for the cartoons and stuff. I feel like at the very least, the people that we end up respecting the most are the people that explore a lot of shit too.
Because that's a constant thing where people will ask like, how do you get into Let's Plays? Well, the thing about Let's Plays is that don't actually diversify a little bit because you never know when the bubble might burst.
If you have a,
it ever does.
and if you have a personality that's interesting, interesting, then you can fucking make it work.
It's really all it is. It's
Yeah.
not Let's Plays. It's not anything like that. It's all personalities.
Right.
Really.
Yeah.
It's just human personalities.
It is.
That's it. It doesn't even have to be video games. It could be. I'm waiting for the time where everyone starts less listening, and it's just listening to the radio, and then everyone's gonna migrate to that. It's all about just having a personality.
But it just happens to be a format where it's like you're playing a
format,
game,
yeah.
so it's like, oh, that can be extended for however long.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel bad because like these fucking cartoons are hilarious, but people need everyday content.
Yeah, you know what's interesting too is I feel like that the
People
whole
think they need everyday content.
but the whole
people are spoiled.
The opposite side of that spectrum is so fucking clear when certain people do like update videos or comment videos about a certain topic. Like let's say it's about gay marriage or whatever. But the whole time they have like some fucking Call of Duty gameplay footage playing the entire fucking time. It's like you clearly just want to see some it's like visual stimulation just for this. It doesn't even matter what it is.
Yeah.
You just have dancing colors in front of your face while I talk to you.
Skibidi-bop-bop explosion. Review Tech USA. This guy he has topics where he's a pretty popular channel and like he just talks about whatever. But there happens to be Call of Duty playing.
Right, and I think that is actually a very successful psychological experiment where it actually kind of hones in on the fact that people just want to see shit moving around while they listen to something.
Dude,
you know what I mean?
That's like Street Fighter hitboxes. When you get really big into Street Fighter, you start seeing people play the game without graphics.
Right.
They're cubes moving around the screen.
So they start to understand. It's like the Matrix. It's the Matrix.
Frame data. It's all just and they're just like, seriously, geometrical shapes moving around the screen. It's just
Then on the other side of that, it's because possibly people aren't even paying attention to the visuals. At the end of the day, they're listening to it.
So many people, so many comments constantly go, I turned the LP on and then go about my day. They
And
don't
then,
even watch
don't
it.
even look at the
They
visuals.
just turn the
listen to
volume
your
up and
voices.
that's it.
Yeah.
Like for live action stuff though, it's kind of a weird thing because when we do that, we usually do it for con videos. Like here, we're at Too Many Games, and we did a video.
You didn't just do it for con videos. I saw plenty of videos.
No, but traditionally,
okay.
that's where we'll be spurred to make one. But for Too Many Games, we made one that was maybe was considered too real and too raw, and that was us. It was us
fighting over chocolate chip cookies.
Stamper.
What happened to that video?
Mr. Skeet Fighter.
Yeah.
This would be meta because it was us arguing over what would be a good video to make for the call.
That's exactly what meta is.
You were watching.
That's exactly what meta is.
That's textbook.
You know what? This is all bullshit. This is like
no. That's a definition.
Stop, Corey. Shut the fuck up.
Oh
Let me
my
talk for
God.
a second.
You sassy frass.
People arguing about meta is exactly like people arguing over what ironic means. It's always so up and down.
Oh, really? Really?
Yes, really.
Okay.
Fucking wait, what you were saying about
Or maybe I just don't get it. Maybe I'm stupid.
No, you're not.
I
Shut
think
up.
I'm stupid. I'm
Shut
stupid.
up, Chris. You were saying
you are stupid.
Always possible. It's always a possibility.
Your wiener's too huge to be stupid. All right.
You guys were talking earlier about this bubble of Let's Players could burst at any moment, right?
Yeah.
Me and Zach were talking a lot about this, where it's like we think it's good if a Let's Player has something to fall back on. If you're just literally that's all you can do, it could like end at any point.
Yeah,
Most Let's Players are going to fall back on
that's why
Walmart, my
I was
friend.
scared to death. And I was like, we gotta diversify. And there's something that, if you guys have been looking at our stuff for a little while, we haven't seen it in a long, long time. But we just did a cartoon series called Best Friends Adventures, where it's me and my cohort Pat getting thrown into different game worlds, and we just do now we're in Doom, now we're in Mortal Kombat, and we had a really the most talent. You're all talented. You're not as talented as this guy. This Brazilian Superman.
Sure. Yeah.
What's his name?
Named Two Snacks. We found him because he enjoys the My Little Pony, and he did My Little Pony versions of taking our audio from our Let's Plays and making just really, really amazing, some 3D animation.
Wait. Is this the Two Snacks? Wait. Who was the one who did your avatar arts?
The main avatar, which I'm assuming that you're talking about, is
that's the same
he
guy.
designed those, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I know him. Okay.
So he will.
I had
go,
many a conversation with
We'll
Two
go. Okay. So we're going into Devil
Twitter.
Yeah. What's
Two
his for?
Snacks. The number 2 and snacks.
Okay.
Like as in eating snacks.
Like treats? Snacks
yes.
with an X
So,
at the
so
end?
he's
or?
at numeral 2 snacks?
That
I
seems
believe
to be
so.
the case.
Shut up, Mick! Shut up!
God damn it! I'm trying to do some proper goddamn promotion for people. I need more vodka. Fuck you.
Bite my head off.
So you'll say to the guy.
Anyway, stop. Who am I? Oh, oh, wait, they can't see that. Continue.
Good visual.
You'll say to the guy.
That was totally meta, right, guys?
It was not.
Yeah, right?
You're making me lol really hard.
That's meta. No, I'm kidding.
We're going to Devil May Cry
What is
world.
it?
So do us some Devil May Cry things. Here's a script, and I give him a script, and then he rips out Bayonetta's model from the game code and puts it in there
And animates it, yeah.
and animates it, and then it's voice and it's lip synced to whatever. And I didn't ask for that. That's way better.
So you guys
right?
hired the Lawnmower Man to be your animator.
It's nuts.
And
That's super
Has it been like a well-received and successful series?
Yeah, and people like it took so long because he was a one-man guy and he did so much and added to the humor and did all these things.
So
no definitive ending yet, though.
I appreciate that you spend money to make stuff that's good like that, right? So
I just thought it would be fun.
You will have an audience to fall back on if it bursts.
Yeah. If video games are over tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, like we just did like a movie review thing that you tried out with the movie reviews that we have of like Jurassic Park and shit. It's
So Jurassic Park and Terminator both have movies coming up. So yeah, do like 6 Let's Play videos for the week. And then you end off the week by going, okay, here's a live action, just roundtable review of the movie. Because what have we learned up to this point? We played all these games, and now we've watched the movie. Now, what do you think?
Wow, this sounds like a fucking classroom where like you read the book,
and
now
book report.
Yeah, exactly.
No, by the way, like he specifically wanted to keep topics not like based on a given time because you gotta have
people
replayability.
keep cooking.
You know,
dude, you don't want to pull something out of the past and then be like, oh, the new movie's coming out, and people are like, oh no.
We have a very interesting podcast where as soon as we click stop and record, shit tons of news happens, and our podcast is ludicrously out of date all the time.
That's what I'm talking about, man. Everything's got an expiration date on it.
I want wait. You're saying like during a podcast, stop recording, done, and literally the second you did that, the world changed.
We'll give an opinion on like, oh, this game has been canceled. That sucks. Oh, we'll never see that game again. We hit stop, and then we'll go, that game's back on
sale now.
On sale now, and everyone's like, wow, this must be a very outdated podcast. We're like, no, it's like the last like 6 months have just been super rough.
So I've always been completely against bringing up current events, movies that are about to come out, because you always want to be able to revisit things. Do you think it's more beneficial that you constantly talk about current news in a sense where you can kind of revisit it?
You have a valid point, because there's some comedians where you can listen to their material timeless, and other comedians where the bit is based on current events and whatnot. And
like if it's Dane Cook talking about my phone doesn't work,
that's retarded. But if you listen to Eddie Murphy Raw,
it's fucking meta.
Why was that also?
And you know what? Raw was
it really?
Yeah, I was just
because we're the same person. As you said earlier, looping it back.
Like people grab Carlin bits and play them today, and people go, "How did he know?"
Yeah,
Raw.
Yeah, Raw.
Yeah, Raw.
3 out of 10.
What the fuck are you talking about?
3 out of 10. I love pussy. I like getting pussy. That's his whole fucking routine.
Timeless. Without talking about
he was Donkey and Shrek,
news.
He
was Donkey and Shrek. Asshole, take that.
Are you a delirious man?
Oh, see, that is actually...
What about Shrek 2?
I'm all sweaty because I'm sweaty.
Shrek 2, man.
You're a delirious man?
Shrek 2 is better than 1.
Is that where this is going?
I don't think he's a Murphy man.
Oh, okay. All right.
I like Eddie.
Do you like Coming to America?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite movies.
We were talking about that because we were talking about our first Sam Jackson experience.
Boomerang?
Yeah, with Steel Vagina. I love that shit.
It's
okay.
I already like you. You can't change that. It's okay.
Pluto Nash.
Wait, what was the one with Eddie Murphy as a vampire? Was that a vampire in Manhattan? Brooklyn? Brooklyn. Yeah.
I don't like that one.
No, it's not great.
No.
Yo, me and Chris were watching Vampire in Brooklyn, and there was a stock sound effect in like the first 5 minutes. We both boat got up and walked away.
You know,
The boat crashes in and it does that metal screechy shit.
Yeah. Do you know that I've heard the Willem scream in Game of Thrones at least 3 times?
Yeah.
At least 3 times. At
once.
least.
That ruined Chris's fucking day.
I know. No, dude. But I remember hearing once being like, oh, that's kind of sad. And then I heard it again. I was like, I had to go back to an episode, like go back and be like, wait, did you just do that again? And there was like a weird pseudo Willem scream they did after that. Because you would hear like this, ah! And then next to it there was like a, oh! Like right next to it. Like they were trying to like harmonize or like duo
that
shit.
scream is so common, it's in our podcast and I don't even know about it.
There's a whole
Fucking sound designers are the laziest people on earth.
They can be.
For us, it's that fucking dolphin noise.
That's a better way of saying it.
Fuck.
No. One
Doom
does imp noise. It's like this Jaguar sound effect.
Oh, that, yeah.
And that's used so frequently in any genre.
Yeah.
Like you could be watching like a Shakespeare movie and it'll happen.
Yeah.
And because they don't, it's just so free, and they just put it in there, and I just go Doom imp noise because as a kid it was just imprinted on your brain. So.
Oh, the Doom imp noise.
Yeah.
I always hear that
When it
squeaky
shoots a
door.
fireball at you.
Yeah.
The squeaky door that like closes.
Oh yeah.
I hear that a million
Oh,
times.
and the gate one. The
Oh,
gate
God,
from
that
Sleepy
fucking
Hollow.
gate, man.
Where they'll do like literally like side by side.
Like
They'll do it for the open and the close.
Like sound and audio really needs to just get its shit together at some point. It's like
They sell hundreds and hundreds of audio CDs, but it's like they only use one, and they keep pulling it off the same fucking
We should
thing.
edit in all these sound effects right after we do them.
Yeah, no, somebody pointed it out. Was it you, Chris? You were who pointed it out?
I have like 950 royalty-free Rusty Gate sounds on my computer, and I constantly hear the same
right,
one.
but some people were saying that
Don't
some of the
cry,
sound
Frank.
effects. No, some of the sound effects are like a whole minute long.
Yeah.
But they only use like the first like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
It's like just let it play like maybe a couple
That's
seconds.
why Sony Vegas is really
middle.
nice for like dragging it to the left and cutting out like one of the-
exactly what you need, and then it'll fade right into what you need it to be.
Yeah.
But to kind of answer the question you were asking, right?
Shit, dude.
Right?
like an hour ago.
Yeah,
Sorry.
No, I run a podcast too. I know how this works.
I know it's a fucking travesty, dude. I'm so sorry.
You. The thing is you
it's
told
pretty
me,
meta though.
That's
close.
statement.
There
That
you
statement
go.
was close to
now
that.
We're getting there.
Yes.
Now we're getting there.
We already know the name of this podcast. That's pretty meta.
Are you done, faggot?
No.
When you're saying like, okay, do we have like, is it better if we have no time references to what's going on, current events?
Oh yeah.
The problem is our fucking podcast is what did we do with our weeks? What current games did we play? And then what news is happening? What's coming out on the channel? We have no material if we didn't have current events.
If we don't talk about like a piece of news that's like relevant to us, let's say we really like Yakuza games. If a Yakuza game gets announced or localized or whatever, we will get all of our Twitters, all our whatevers will be like, what the fuck? I'm gonna unsubscribe because they didn't talk about Yakuza or whatever.
So
that's because we designed it that way.
Our podcast at least is locked onto a calendar.
You're gonna have audience members who want to hear the latest news. You're gonna get audience members that love to listen to a Led Zeppelin album. They want to hear
Are they looking for news or commentary or friendship? A lot of people listen to podcasts because
for familiarity. I think it could be all the columns.
I remember back in the day, 1UP did a show called Broken Pixels, which is basically Let's Playing, kind of before Let's Playing happened, where they just played some shitty game. And they did a cool thing where they took a art of a TV monitor, like the outside of like an old one, and they would make it look like their reflections were overlaid on top of the game footage. Like they were the camera was pointing at their TV.
Yeah, like MST3K?
No, not really. The idea was that they were playing an old CRT, and the camera was pointing at the TV, and you could see the reflections in the CRT screen. It was a really cool
meta.
show.
It is meta. That is meta.
That's meta.
That's meta.
We'll get you there yet. And they were playing a Congo game based on the Michael Crichton novel for the Sega Saturn, and they were making fucking Congo jokes. Like, man, Congo is such a shit movie. That was from '96.
Well, that one with
I
Anthony
can
Hopkins?
always laugh at Congo.
Was that Anthony Hopkins?
No, that's another movie with Primal. But Congo is about the laser beams that sawed all the monkeys in half. It's
Yeah.
fucking radical.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Sweet, dude.
You take out your phone, you're like, I'm going to watch this right now. So, like, for a podcast, or even if it's like an old show like that, there's Broken Pixels or whatever, I'm like, I'll listen to you make fun of Congo. But if it's like a current event, like, I can get what you're saying. We're like, yeah, gay marriage, that happened like 3 weeks ago. Because lots of people go, I'm finally caught up on your podcast, and you're talking about shit that's 3 weeks old. And that's where we kind of go like,
Yeah, does that feel weird?
I don't know, man.
It feels
If
a
it's
little
fucking,
bit
like, if
weird.
it's funny, I think people are
No, it's
gonna
fine,
enjoy it, you know?
but
Like,
it's this mindset where it's like it's always a transitional period. Like, for example, I'll go home and watch fucking Batman Returns or any old fucking anything
Yeah,
right
fuck
now.
yeah, Batman
so
Returns.
does like the podcast and like this whole world apply to that? Like, do people like to pull up things from the past that don't?
You know what though? I can already tell.
It's like referential.
No,
or
from what you're
like-
saying, and
Are
it
you-
didn't occur to me until now.
Do you only care about the people that are presenting it?
Hold on, but you come at it as an animator, which is if you create an animation, right? You're going to spend a month making that thing, and if you make it just based on some whatever hashtag that's happening.